Chapter 3779. Lan Xing was the legend of the Lan family. There was no doubt about it. Even though he had left for countless years, the portrait of the ancestor was still hanging in the ancestral hall of the Lan family. All the direct descendants had the right to admire the glory of this ancestor. At the same time, they were familiar with the glorious deeds of the ancestor. Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi were like that. Looking at the old man in front of them who seemed to be the ancestor, the shock in their hearts was obviously greater than excitement. Especially after the Blue Planet Patriarch nodded his head, the two of them felt as if a huge wave had been set off in their hearts. The two of them immediately bowed to the old man. The last record of the ancestor was that the ancestor went out to travel and never returned. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. They never thought that the ancestor would be here. The ancestor waved his hand and said, "I'm just a wisp of soul power incarnation. I'm not your ancestor. There's no need to be so polite." The two of them raised their heads and were still extremely excited. Lan Xing looked at the fairy with a sigh in his eyes. After a moment, he said, "Why are you only here now?" Lan Jiyu Meng shook her head, indicating that she did not know. Zi Chen also shook his head. This was their family background. It was not convenient for him to participate. He even took the initiative to retreat. Could it be that the Lan family has declined? They were unable to protect the fairy, causing her to reincarnate generation after generation. Now, they have chased her here and want to kill her. Lan Xing asked again. Faced with the ancestor's question, Lan Rui naturally had to answer. Thus, he explained everything in detail. When the ancestor, who was just a wisp of an incarnation, heard this, his expression turned ugly bit by bit. In the end, he shouted angrily, "B****, what a B****? Helping the fairy grow is the Lan family's mission. It's the foundation of the Lan family's existence. How did it become like this?" There might be some misunderstanding, but Zi Chen did not want to know. He directly blocked his sharp perception. Bored, he took out the long rod and began to examine it carefully. The patterns on it seemed to be some kind of strange pattern. During the battle earlier, Zi Chen used it very well. Noah and Shan Ye listened to the ancestor's pained voice and occasionally turned their heads to look. They were somewhat curious. "I've found my own strength. Next, I just need to find a way to use my soul power and I'll be able to advance to the soul realm." Zi Chen put away the long rod and said to the two. The two immediately retracted their gazes and nodded. This time, it could be said that he had come back from death's door. After reprimanding them for a while, Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi walked over dejectedly. When they saw Zi Chen, they could only smile bitterly. Lan Hongyi was even less arrogant than before. Lan Jiyu Meng stayed behind. Now, the Blue Star ancestor was going to give her the fairy inheritance. Lang Rui walked to Zi Chen's side and sat down. He sighed and said, "It seems that after I made that decision, my life became unlucky. After coming here, I was suppressed everywhere. My combat strength is less than 70% of what it used to be. The only thing I'm proud of is the decision to keep the heavenly daughter, even going against the entire Lan family. However, after hearing your explanation today, I've become a joke." Since Lang Rui was willing to talk, Zi Chen was also willing to listen, but he did not express his opinion. "Do you know that the Lan family's strength is all because of the heavenly daughter? The Lan family's mission is to protect the heavenly daughter's growth. The appearance of the heavenly daughter in the Lan family is just to take back the luck that belongs to her." Lang Rui smiled bitterly and said, "It's ridiculous that our family has always said that the heavenly daughter took away the luck that belongs to the Lan family. In fact, the heavenly daughter is not the Blue Star ancestor's daughter at all. She has always been protected by the Blue Star ancestor, and then he entrusted the Lan family to protect her. However, for some reason, the truth has become like this." Zi Chen's expression changed slightly. The difference between the truth and the legend was too big. "We are the ones who have always owed them, not the other way around." Lan Hongyi was silent. To the entire Lan family, the two of them had withstood a huge amount of pressure to follow the heavenly daughter here. However, who would have thought that the truth would be like this? At this moment, a light bloomed in front of them. It was Lan Jiyu Meng who had revealed the heavenly daughter's state and began to accept the inheritance. Just as the heavenly daughter was accepting the inheritance, something strange happened between the two huge corpses. A beam of light suddenly appeared. It was like a ball of light absorbing the surrounding energy. Motes of light appeared on the two huge corpses and were currently being absorbed by the ball of light. Such a change caused everyone's expression to change. After all, the corpses of the two dead existences were equivalent to supreme treasures. They could be refined into corresponding spirit weapons that contained the power of time and space. They were extraordinarily powerful. Zi Chen looked into the distance, not moving at all. He did not even put up his guard. This was because he saw the change in the Blue Star Ancestor's expression. There was anticipation in the Blue Star Ancestor's expression but no hostility. The light in front grew brighter and brighter. The two huge corpses quickly disintegrated. Finally, at a certain moment, the two huge corpses disappeared. The light in the sky became even more dazzling, like an erupting sun. The few of them subconsciously closed their eyes. Earlier, it was like the light turned into a sharp sword, trying to pierce their eyes and blind them. When the light faded away, they saw a small beast in the sky. It had fine scales all over its body, and its eyes were very bright. At this moment, it was using its small claws to scratch its dragon-like head. It was looking at everything around it with great curiosity. It looked very cute. After seeing the appearance of the small beast, Zi Chen's expression changed. It was the appearance of the two beasts from before, just in their young state. What was that? A space-time beast? A time beast? Or a combination of the two? It's the blue dragon beast, the complete form of the blue dragon beast. The excited voice of the Blue Star Patriarch sounded. He immediately flew forward, wanting to hug the little guy. Swoosh! A ripple appeared around the little guy's body. In the next moment, it disappeared. It arrived in front of Lan Jiyu Meng. Its smart little eyes were sizing up Lan Jiyu Meng. It was curious and puzzled. The fairy was receiving the inheritance and did not know what was happening outside. At this moment, the wings on her back reappeared, shining with colorful lights. After circling around Lan Jiyu Meng for more than 10 times, the little guy's body suddenly released ripples of light. Then, it penetrated the light barrier around the fairy and arrived in front of her. This shocked Zi Chen and the others. They were very worried. The blue dragon beast did not attack the fairy. Instead, it landed on her shoulder, closed its eyes, and fell into a deep sleep. The Blue Star Patriarch's expression was very excited. He did not expect the fairy to have such an opportunity. This was really an amazing opportunity. He waved at Zi Chen and said, "Young man, let's have a chat." Zi Chen walked forward and bowed to the Blue Star Patriarch. "Young man, there's no need to be so polite. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to your help this time." The Blue Star Patriarch said, "If it weren't for your vital power, everything would have been over." Speaking of this, the Blue Star Patriarch sighed again. This existence who single-handedly founded the Lan family had a deep sense of helplessness in his eyes at this moment. "I'm just a remnant soul. I don't have anything to reward you with. Take this thing. It will be useful in the future." Chapter 3780. Zi Chen did not understand what the Blue Star Patriarch meant, but he did not refuse. He took the extraordinary blue jade and asked, "Senior, do you have any other instructions?" "It's not an instruction. I just suggest that you head north after leaving." The Blue Star Patriarch turned his head to look north and said, "The Blue Sand State is too small to accommodate you. You have to head to that place eventually." Zi Chen heard the Blue Star Patriarch's voice, but he did not ask further. Clearly, this was not something a Soul True Realm cultivator should know. He put away the token. When he raised his head, he found that the Patriarch's body had suddenly become extremely faint. His expression changed slightly. The Blue Star Patriarch said, "I'm just a remnant soul to begin with. I've waited for so many years. I can't hold on for much longer. This is also the reason why I didn't appear earlier and needed you to make your own choice. However, I'm a little curious. How did you determine that the blue dragon beast who controlled space was lying?" Zi Chen shook his head and said, "I can't be sure. It's just that the time beast doesn't want us to die. This is true, even though I don't know what its goal is. Therefore, I can only use this favor to test it. Test it. The Blue Star Patriarch was slightly stunned when he heard that. Then, he laughed out loud. I see. I'm relieved that you have such wisdom. Zichen, I'll remember you. I hope to see you again next time. When the time comes, I'll definitely drink with you. The Blue Star Patriarch's figure disappeared. Zichen cupped his fists at the sky again. Lung Rui and Lan Hongyi ran over quickly. Looking at the patriarch who had disappeared, the two of them could not help but feel disappointed. The patriarch did not give the two of them any guidance, nor did he ask about the family matters. He just disappeared. The patriarch said that you two will meet again. Lung Rui looked at Zichen and asked. Zichen nodded and said, yes. Lung Rui said excitedly, in that case, the patriarch is not dead. The patriarch is still alive. Maybe. Maybe. What if it's the next remnant soul in the next land of opportunity? The excitement on Lung Rui's face disappeared, and he looked a little disappointed. I'm saying what if, but other than that, there's a higher possibility that he's still alive. Zichen turned and walked into the distance. Now, as long as Lan Jiu Meng obtained the angel's inheritance, they would be able to leave. As for the location, the Blue Star Patriarch had already pointed out the direction for him, which was the north. Then keep going north. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The fairy's inheritance was not over yet. While the others were either recuperating or cultivating, Zichen was not idle either. He began to draw talismans. It was the Ghost Spirit Saint Talisman. If it wasn't for the Ghost Spirit Sacred Talisman, it would have been impossible for them to win against a human soul. It was the realization that the ghost spirit had given back after its life was extinguished that allowed Zichen to take another step forward and comprehend the power of the Holy Talisman's stroke, thus killing the second human soul realm expert. Of course, strength was one aspect, but luck was even more important. If it wasn't for the Time Beast's secret help, the human soul realm cultivators wouldn't have died at all. On the contrary, they would have been killed next. However, what surprised Zichen was that the ghost spirit's feedback after killing the enemy actually contained realization. This was something that had never happened before. As the last stroke fell, soul power surged in front of him, and another ghost spirit sacred talisman appeared. Zichen sensed his own limit. 18 talismans. This indicated that his soul power had become stronger, indicating that the ghost spirit had also become stronger. Seeing that no one was idle, Zichen took out another piece of ancient jade. He had obtained it from the dead descender, and it was also a holy talisman technique. It could summon a black tiger that could contend against the sky thunder python. Secluded mountain tiger. It was on the same level as the sky thunder python. Following the principle of having more skills, Zichen naturally didn't want to miss it. With the time beast and space beast dead, this place returned to normal, and time began to flow normally. In a flash, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, the light on Lan Jiu Meng's body didn't dissipate, and the little beast also rested on her shoulder without waking up. During this time, Zichen walked closer to investigate twice, and he could feel a repulsive force that prevented him from moving forward. This was Lan Jiu Meng's defense, or rather the goddess's inheritance, to prevent anyone from approaching. Only the little fellow called the Blue Dragon Beast wasn't affected. Zichen asked Lung Rui what the Blue Dragon Beast was, but Lung Rui didn't know. In the Blue Sand continent, there was no such creature as the Blue Dragon Beast. After another 2 days, Shan Ya, who was cultivating, suddenly released a powerful aura, and a spirit tide surged out. Zichen's consciousness retracted from the ancient jade that recorded the holy talisman technique. He turned to look at the soul power fluctuations, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Shan Ya had broken through. The team had gained another powerful fighting force. The next step was to wait for Noah. The green light on the surface of his body flickered. Once he broke through, he would definitely be outstanding among those of the same level. When the spirit aura around him stabilized, Shan Ya opened his eyes, and his face was filled with excitement. At this time, Zichen was deep in thought. This time, there were descenders among the people who came, and their target seemed to be him. However, the last person who sneaked an attack at the human soul realm attacked Lan Jiyu Meng first. If Zi Chen's guess wasn't wrong, these people should be the Ghost King's people. But how did they find this place? Did they join hands with someone from the Lan family? This made Zi Chen recall the other thing that Lang Rui said before he left. It was an additional reward, and the Lan family could help him do something. At that time, Zi Chen directly rejected it, but Noah thought of the Ghost King and wanted the Lan family to help get rid of him. Now, it seemed that the Lan family also knew about this matter, so they wanted to borrow the Ghost King's hand to kill them, including the fairy Lan Jiyu Meng. It seemed that there were radical existences in the Lan family. He had to be careful when he went out. But what puzzled him was, how did those people catch up? Noah's breakthrough was 2 days later than Shan Ya's. After the breakthrough, his battle strength increased greatly. Another 2 days later, the blue light around Lan Jiyu Meng disappeared, and the fairy inheritance ended. The little blue dragon beast also woke up and was held in Lan Jiyu Meng's arms. At this time, Lan Jiyu Meng was already in the soul realm. Moreover, her temperament had also changed greatly. Is there a way to leave? Zi Chen first congratulated, then asked. He tried a few times before, but he couldn't leave. Lang Rui and the others also tried. Lan Jiyu Meng glanced at the blue dragon beast in her arms and said in a pleasant voice, "Xiaolan can." It was obvious that she liked this little blue dragon beast very much. In the opportunity back then, once we obtained the inheritance, the time blue dragon beast would take us away. Lan Jiyu Meng said, "It's just that a space blue dragon beast came halfway, causing the layout of this place to change. But with Xiaolan here, we don't have to worry." Lan Jiyu Meng gently stroked the blue dragon beast's head. The blue dragon beast's body released a ray of light. The light landed in front of them and turned into a tunnel. Chapter 3781. In a nameless mountain stream, Lang Rui looked at the strange rocks around him and said, "We have to find a city first. Hongi and I need some suitable equipment from our family." The Lan family was the #1 power in the Blue Sand continent. As long as there was a city, the Lan family's spies would be able to contact the Lan family. Noah, who was walking at the side, said, "But we don't even know where we are now. Where are we going to find a city? It's been 3 days. Not to mention a city, we haven't even seen a shadow of a person." The Blue Sand continent was very big. At this moment, they had no idea where they were. As for Xiao Lan, who had brought them out, she had already burrowed into Lan Jiyu Meng's embrace and had not woken up. In the previous battle, Lang Rui had lost his folding fan and Lan Hongyi's battle armor had been shattered. Their losses were not small. One must know that these 2 soul weapons were taken from the Lan family's treasury. Furthermore, they were the most compatible with the Lan family's power. Their quality was far superior to ordinary soul weapons. Comparatively speaking, Noah and Shan Ya's soul weapons had been shattered, which was almost negligible. Currently, the 2 of them did not have the most suitable soul weapons for themselves. They needed to find a place to buy them or refine them on their own. Just take it as a relaxation. Zi Chen, who was walking at the front, said indifferently. He was leading the way aimlessly. The others did not have any objections. After the previous life and death battle, it was good for everyone to relax for a while. Lang Rui quickly walked forward and stood side by side with Zi Chen. He casually plucked a blade of grass and put it in his mouth. He asked, "What do you plan to do next? Will you leave directly?" Zi Chen looked at Lang Rui and asked, "What about you?" The blade of grass was bitten to pieces. A bitter taste spread from his mouth. "I don't plan to go back for the time being." Zi Chen was somewhat surprised. Lang Rui said, "I'm not stupid. Before coming, I was already prepared to be targeted. I just didn't expect their determination to be so strong." After a pause, Lang Rui continued, "So, I won't go back. Neither will Fairy." Zi Chen said, "I'll go north." "North?" Lang Rui tilted his head and looked at Zi Chen. "Yes, all the way north. As for where the destination is, I don't know." Zi Chen said, "I will take the Holy Maiden with me. If you 2 want to go back, You can do so at any time. Lang Rui shook his head and spat out the remaining half of the grass. His attitude was firm. Zichen said, "Actually, it's not a bad thing for the two of you to go back. At least you can take care of us." Lang Rui smiled, but his smile was somewhat bitter. The Lan family was too big. Even though his status as the future heir of the family was very high, it was not to the point where he could call the wind and summon the rain with one hand. Moreover, he was not the only heir of the Lan family. Once he died, there would naturally be a second successor to the throne. If he really went back, there was nothing he could do. He could only wait for the news of the Holy Maiden's death. Zichen did not continue to persuade him. He respected Lang Rui's choice. 2 days later, they saw a messy battlefield. There were corpses left on the battlefield. These corpses were not complete. Some were separated by sharp weapons, and some were gnawed by some kind of beast. The scene looked very cruel. Among these corpses, there were the elderly, women, and children. There were a total of 70 to 80 corpses scattered around. Even the few people who were decisive in killing looked at them with pity in their eyes. Looking at the traces of the battlefield, it should have happened 2 days ago. Noah turned around and said after a careful inspection, "Who did this? Isn't it too vicious and merciless?" Lan Hongyi's eyes were filled with anger. "If I see them, I will not let them go." Shan Huai's eyes also became much colder. "It is indeed a little hateful," Lang Rui said. The blue dragon beast, who had fallen in Lan Jiumeng's arms, moved its ears. It opened one of its eyes, but it quickly closed it again. Zichen turned his head and looked into the distance. He did not see anything. "It is fate that we met. Let's bury them." Noah gently stomped his feet. The ground in front of them began to sink. Then, a wind appeared and gently wrapped the corpses on the ground. One by one, the corpses were placed in the deep pit. The corpses that could be pieced together were put together. After dealing with these corpses, Noah looked at Zichen. Zichen hesitated for a moment and said, "Let's go." He identified a direction. Looking at the traces, it was the direction where the killers left. The few of them did not say anything. During this period of time together, Zichen was like a real leader. He always made the right choice at the most important moment. Zichen did not fly. He walked on the ground. The other 5 naturally followed. After walking for 5 miles, there was a sudden movement in the grass. Then, a person rushed out in a sorry state and fell to the ground. The few of them turned their heads and looked at the person. It was a child, about 5 or 6 years old. His body was covered in mud and he looked very sorry. After he got up, he wiped his face. His already blurry little face was completely messed up. Zichen looked at the child with a complicated expression. The child's eyes were very bright. He looked very innocent, just like little Liangbao, whom he had met for the first time in the card tower world. After seeing the few of them, the child was clearly startled. There was a hint of panic in those innocent eyes. "Can I ask where this place is?" Zichen asked with a smile. He tried to be as gentle as possible. "Where is the nearest city?" The panicked child shook his head and said, "There is no city here. This is a cursed land." Hearing that, the expressions of the few of them changed. Could it be that they had just come out of that strange place, and now they were in another space? Subconsciously, they looked at Lan Jiumeng. Lan Jiumeng did not say anything. She just looked at the silent child. "Sister, you are so beautiful." The child's innocent eyes met Lan Jiumeng's as he said from the bottom of his heart. Lan Jiumeng was a little startled. She did not know how to respond. "What is your name?" Zichen asked again. His voice was still as gentle as ever. "My name is Yi Yuan." Yi Yuan asked doubtfully, "Uncle, how did you come to this cursed land?" He called Lan Jiumeng's sister, and himself uncle. Zichen touched his chin. Ignoring the strange looks of the few beside him, he said, "We accidentally came here. We don't know how to leave. Little friend Yi Yuan, can you help us?" "Really?" Yi Yuan looked at Zichen. He clearly did not believe him. Zichen nodded with a smile. Yi Yuan's expression suddenly became serious. If you want to leave this cursed land, there is only one way. You need to duel with the darkness. Are you prepared to fight the darkness? Fight the darkness? Lan Hongyi came forward. Little guy, you aren't talking nonsense, are you? Yi Yuan snorted. If you don't believe me, then go ahead. This deliberate display of an old man's attitude was somewhat amusing. Zichen said, in that case, please take us there. Yi Yuan turned and said, come with me. He walked in front. Zichen looked at Yi Yuan's back and did not say anything. Lan Rui walked to the side and said in a low voice, a little guy who came out of nowhere. Is he reliable? Won't we know if we go take a look? Zichen smiled and followed. Yi Yuan heard the footsteps behind him. A smile appeared on his face. At the same time, a cold light that should not appear at his age flashed in the depths of his eyes. We just left that place. Could it be that we really came to another cursed land? Lan Hongyi followed. Perhaps. Zichen said indifferently. He was actually a little distracted. Lan Hongyi glared fiercely at Zichen. After all, Yi Yuan was still young. He could not walk for too long. Soon, he slowed down. Zichen glanced at Noah. Noah immediately went forward and carried Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan was a little resistant. There was a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Zichen said with a smile, you're in charge of leading the way. We'll go full speed ahead. Don't worry. When we're about to reach the place, we'll put you down in advance. We won't let you take any risks. After hearing Zichen's words, Yi Yuan was relieved. He pointed to the right and said, we should enter the forest. Following Yi Yuan's directions, the 6 of them entered the forest. After about an hour, they saw a tall mountain peak. On top of this mountain peak, there were many caves. The darkness is in those caves. Yi Yuan's eyes were filled with fear as he pointed at the caves. Zichen signaled Noah to put him down. After getting down, Yi Yuan quickly ran into the distance. You guys go and deal with the darkness. I'll rely on you guys to break the curse. In the blink of an eye, Yi Yuan had already disappeared, leaving behind the few people looking at each other. A sharp whistle suddenly sounded. With the sound of air breaking, it flew out from a cave and headed straight for Zichen. Swoosh! Zichen's figure flashed and disappeared. The attack that missed its target changed direction midway and swept towards the other people. Facing this unknown sneak attack, the few of them all chose to dodge. That attack turned around and came back. You dare to come to our Kiara mountain and behave atrociously. You really don't know what's good for you. A cold laugh suddenly rang out as a person flew out of the cave. It was actually a Soul Realm expert. Zichen was a little surprised. One had to know that as long as one did not provoke a powerful faction, it was usually very difficult to meet a Soul Realm expert. At this moment, more lights flew out from the other caves. Each of them was a Soul Realm expert. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen Soul Realm experts appeared in front of Zichen and the others. The Soul Realm expert in the lead quickly shifted his gaze away from Zichen and landed on the 3 women. His gaze became fiery. In the surroundings, the Soul Realm experts' gazes also became incomparably fiery as they stared fixedly at the 3 women. The 3 of them had different temperaments and each had their own merits. My lord, it's been a long time since I've encountered such good goods. One of them looked at the holy maiden. He rubbed his hands and said, such good goods. After my lord plays with them, you can let us brothers have a good time, right? That's right, my lord. Such top-grade goods are extremely rare. Another Soul Realm expert said. The Soul Realm expert retracted his fiery gaze and snorted coldly, you know that these are top-grade goods. Is that something we can play with? Kill the men and bring the women back. When the time comes, Big Brother will arrange it. When the Soul Realm experts heard this, they seemed very regretful. The Soul Realm expert said again, don't worry. Since it's top-grade goods, then the rewards from above will definitely not be small. When the time comes, you'll naturally have a good time. Many thanks, my lord. The Soul Realm experts immediately cupped their fists, their eyes filled with excitement. Lan Hongyi was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Shan Ye's gaze also became extremely cold. Lan Jiu Meng looked at the few of them, her eyes like she was looking at dead people. But Zi Chen did not speak, so the few of them did not immediately make a move. Before we came, we saw dozens of corpses. Was it done by you guys? Zi Chen looked at the crowd and said, "Death is at hand, yet you're still so calm. This makes this lord a little surprised." The Soul Realm smiled proudly and said, "It's fine to tell you the truth. Those people were indeed done by us from Kiara Mountain. The useless ones were killed, and the useful ones were brought back. But now, they should all be dead. After all, they're just ordinary women. They can't withstand the impact of so many people. Do you have any other questions? Seeing that you're about to die, and the women are going to be taken by us, this lord's kindness is great. I can answer you one more question." Zi Chen slowly shook his head and said, "No." His eyes gradually turned cold. "Leave none alive." After hearing Zi Chen's words, Noah was about to step forward. At this moment, Lan Hongyi, who was already unable to restrain her anger, said, "Don't move. Let this lady come alone." "You want to sleep with this lady? Do you think you're Zi Chen?" She flashed forward, light flowing around her body. Lan Hongyi was clearly in a rage, so the others all stopped. Then, they all looked at Zi Chen, their gazes a little strange. Especially Lan Rui, there was a questioning look in his eyes. Zi Chen's previous coldness had already dissipated. He spread his hands helplessly, as if replying to Lan Rui. "What kind of personality is your sister? Don't you know yourself?" Blue light flashed, and a head flew up. There was not even the necessary scream, and 3 Soul Void Realm experts had already died. Other than their heads, their bodies were also split into 2. There was not even an intact corpse. It could be seen that Lan Hongyi was really angry. On one hand, it was because these people had bad intentions, but more importantly, it was because of their tyrannical behavior. Although Lan Hongyi's personality was a little too cheerful, she was still a good person. She could also pull out her blade to help when she saw injustice. Pu. 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 Blood splattered, and several more Soul Void Realm experts were killed. This time, there were still no screams. They were all killed in one blow. However, there was a hint of fear on their faces. This was the only reaction they could make when facing Lan Hongyi, who was at the Soul Void Realm. Soul Void Realm. At this moment, the Soul Void Realm leader finally reacted. There was a hint of shock in his eyes. Then, he looked at the indifferent Zi Chen and the others. He knew that things were not good, and immediately retreated. "You have to be the last one to die." Lan Hongyi's voice sounded again. A light flashed past the Soul Void Realm expert's body. Following the splattering of blood, the Soul Void Realm expert's arms were cut off. "If you continue to run, it will be your legs." Looking at his arms that were instantly cut off, the Soul Void Realm expert's eyes were already filled with fear. The other party only sent out one person, and it was already so powerful. Then what about the others who did not make a move? Terrified, he could only cry for help. "Big brother, save me." Zi Chen glanced at Shan Ya. Shan Ya nodded slightly, and her figure soared into the air, flying towards the mountain peak. At the same time, halfway up the mountain, a person who was supposed to leave quietly appeared. Yi Yuan. That child. He glanced at the scene below, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. However, there was more coldness. "All of you deserve to die." The next moment, his figure disappeared from the spot, as if he had used an invisibility technique. Zi Chen, who had stayed below and did not make a move, raised his head and looked at the mountainside. He did not see anything. Chapter 3782. As the second-in-command of Garuda Mountain, Shanos had seen too many deaths. However, this was only limited to the people they tortured and killed, not their own people. Right now, seeing his capable subordinates die one after another, and none of them had a complete corpse left, a thick chill appeared in his heart. There were 6 people on the other side, but only one person made a move. Looking at the expressions of the others, they were all very calm and did not have the slightest bit of worry. Obviously, they were not weak. Shanos's heart was incomparably terrified. He secretly thought to himself, why would such a powerful existence secretly come to this place? Moreover, There was no news in the entire Luowei city. Right now, the only hope in his heart was his big brother. He hoped that he, who was also in the soul realm, could turn the tide. Right at this moment, an object fell from the sky and heavily smashed in front of him. The ground collapsed and smoke rose. When Shanos saw what was falling, he almost fainted from fright. It was actually his big brother, the leader of Garuda Mountain. "Big brother," he shouted, his voice trembling. This was because he was frightened. His powerful big brother was actually beaten down just like that. Was it done by the beautiful woman who left before? How was this possible? That seemingly weak woman, how could she have such strength? The puffing sound disappeared, which meant that all the Soul Void Realm experts had been killed. The ground was littered with corpses, or pieces of corpses. The smell of blood filled the air. Lan Hongyi, who was not stained with blood, came to Shanos's side and kicked him down. Shanos's body was also smashed to the ground, falling together with the leader. "With just you guys, you want to burn, kill, rob, and commit all kinds of evil," Lan Hongyi said coldly. Shanos lowered his head, not daring to look at Lan Hongyi again. This unbelievably beautiful woman was simply a demon in human skin. What about the others? Noah looked at Zichen and asked. "I've killed enough. You take care of the rest. How can there be good people here? Leave no one alive." Without waiting for Zichen to speak, Lan Hongyi gave the order. There were many caves here, and there were humans in those caves, but their realms were not in the Soul Void realm. Noah glanced at Zichen again. After seeing that Zichen did not respond, he flew into the air. Obviously, this was a tacit agreement. "The two of you, how do you want to die?" Lan Hongyi stared at the two of them. "Spare my life, spare my life." The leader who was knocked down by Shan Ye stood up and begged for mercy. "It's fine if the others die, but the two of us must not die." Zichen looked at him and asked, "Why? Are you innocent?" The Soul Reality Realm leader said, "To be honest, we are from Luowei City and are working for the Luo family." Luowei City? Zichen was slightly startled. He had never heard of this name before. Shan Ye and Nuo Ye didn't know either. Lan Gumeng also didn't understand the meaning behind it. Instead, it was Lan Rui who frowned slightly and said, "Luowei City is located in the north of Blusand State. Its geographical location is somewhat special. Rather than calling it a city, it would be better to say that it is managed by a single family." When the leader heard this, a smile appeared on his face. "This brother is sensible. That's right, we are working for the Luo family." When Shan Luos heard this, he also smiled. As he stood up, his gaze subconsciously fell on Lan Hongyi. However, when he met her cold gaze, his body shrank and he hurriedly turned his head away. Would the manager of a city allow his subordinates to do such a thing? Zichen looked at Lan Rui. Luowei City is the main road to the north. It is very popular and there are many merchants coming and going. In this world, no one would complain about having too many blue crystal coins. Lan Rui's words were somewhat helpless. "Brother, you are right. Seeing that you are so insightful, why don't you join us? As for these three beauties, as long as you are willing to take the initiative to offer them to young Master Luo Long, I believe that your future is destined to be extraordinary. Perhaps, young Master Luo Long will be especially kind and give you a path to open on your own. When that time comes, you will naturally be able to reap endless benefits." The leader said somewhat regretfully, "However, you can forget about keeping these three beauties." After the previous massacre, Lan Hongyi was no longer angry. She no longer cared about this guy's nonsense before he died. Even if Zichen was willing to let them go, she, Lan Hongyi, would not let them go. "What do you want to do?" Lan Rui looked at Zichen. The two bandit leaders also looked at Zichen with smiles, waiting for Zichen's reply. Zichen said, "Kill them first. We can talk about the rest later." The smiles on the two men's faces froze. "What did you say? You want to kill us?" The leader looked at Zichen and said, "Are you mistaken? We are from the Luo family. We are Luo Long, Pu." A soft sound rang out. Before the leader could finish his words, his head was separated from his body. Immediately after, Several rays of light appeared and divided his body below his head into several pieces. He died without a complete corpse. This time, it was Lan Jiu Meng who made the move. Shanluo's body was trembling. Just a moment ago, he still had thoughts of revenge. For example, when he returned, he would fan in young Master Luo Long's ear and make things difficult for these guys. Or, he would pay a certain price and let him taint these 3 girls. Who would have thought that these fellows would kill without any hesitation? They did not show any mercy at all. He was about to open his mouth and beg for mercy. Lan Jiu Meng did not give him the chance. His body, which had already lost both arms, was divided again. Is that Luo family very troublesome? The 2 died one after the other. Zi Chen looked at the silent Lan Rui. Lan Rui said, "To most people, it is a problem. However, to me, it is clearly not. No matter what, this is the Blue Sand continent. Putong." At this moment, a sound came from behind them. When they turned their heads, they saw that the child who was supposed to leave had appeared out of nowhere and was kneeling in front of them. Their expressions changed. Only Zi Chen remained calm. At this moment, Yi Yuan's face was filled with tears. "Sorry, I lied to you guys. This is not the cursed lands." After knowing the place, everyone was clear of this point. "The reason why I brought you guys here is because they killed my family." Yi Yuan started to cry. "My family is all dead. Not even a complete corpse was left behind." Everyone's expressions changed. It seemed like the corpses they met along the way were Yi Yuan's family. They did not know how this pitiful child survived. "I beg you to take revenge for my family." Yi Yuan knelt on the ground and started to kowtow. "In this life and the next, I am willing to be your cow or horse to repay this kindness." There were small stones on the ground. His forehead was already bleeding. Blood mixed with tears flowed down. He looked extremely pitiful. Chapter 3783. Zi Chen looked at the kowtowing Yi Yuan and did not say anything. He remained silent. Zi Chen didn't say anything, so Yi Yuan could only keep kowtowing. His forehead was already badly mutilated. Lan Rui was also silent. Or rather, he was waiting for Zi Chen to say something. In Lan Jiu Meng's arms, the blue dragon beast opened one of its eyes. It glanced at Yi Yuan, then closed it again. Occasionally, shouts could be heard from the caves on the mountain, but most of the time, it was begging for mercy. Noah was cleaning up the tragic bandits on the mountain. "My lord, I beg of you, please avenge my family. They died too miserably." Yi Yuan cried as he kowtowed. "Even if you didn't agree, you should have let him get up first." The silent atmosphere was broken by Lan Hongyi. She walked forward and helped Yi Yuan up. "Child, don't cry. Get up first." "No. I won't get up. You are the most powerful lords I have ever seen. Please avenge my family." Yi Yuan said, his face full of blood and tears. "I don't ask you to destroy the Luo family. I only hope that you can kill that Luo Long. I already heard that he was the mastermind behind the scenes." Lan Hongyi immediately looked around. Her eyes seemed to say that it wasn't difficult to kill one person. Zi Chen still didn't reply. He looked very cold and emotionless. "I know where their wealth is. I can take you to find it. I'll give you all the wealth. I only hope that you can kill Luo Long," Yi Yuan said again. The word wealth made everyone's eyes change again. "Let's take a look first." Zi Chen, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. He looked like a master who wouldn't act until he saw a rabbit. Lan Hongyi looked at him with a different expression. She seemed to be saying that she didn't expect him to be this kind of person. Zi Chen didn't explain anything. He just signaled for Yi Yuan to lead the way. Yi Yuan walked forward. However, after taking a few steps, he tripped. "I'll carry you." Zi Chen raised his hand. A ray of energy appeared in his palm. It wrapped around Yi Yuan's body and carried him into the air. Lan Hongyi, who had already walked over and was about to carry Yi Yuan, glared at Zi Chen with dissatisfaction. Zi Chen didn't say anything and just signaled for Yi Yuan to lead the way. The battle on the mountain was over. Noah had killed everyone. Noah, who walked out of the cave, did not look too good. Zi Chen, who was climbing up the mountain, said, "Search the whole mountain. Take away all the valuable things here. Leave nothing behind." "Where are the corpses?" Noah asked. "Keep it. Consider it a warning to those who come later." Under Yi Yuan's guidance, the group headed towards the peak of the mountain. After reaching the highest point, they entered a cave. The cave was very spacious, and the stone walls on both sides were inlaid with luminous pearls, illuminating the path deep inside. Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ye had already gone to the other caves to search. Lan Hongyi was obviously worried about Yi Yuan, or rather, she was worried about what Zi Chen would do to him, so she followed them. Ever since Yi Yuan's second appearance, Zi Chen had shown a cold side to him. He even showed hostility. Lan Rui also followed at the side. With their status, they naturally didn't care about these luminous pearls. They didn't even care about the spoils of war along the way. In their words, since they were young, what they needed to do was to cultivate and increase their strength. As for things like money, it had nothing to do with them. Zi Chen decided to dig out these luminous pearls after they came out. No matter where, these things were very valuable. As they went deeper, Zi Chen saw a few more rooms. The decorations in these rooms were different. The only thing they had in common was that the beds were big enough. On one of the beds, there was a naked woman lying there motionless. She was already dead. But she wasn't killed by Noah. Before he left, he had casually squashed her to death, like squashing an ant. Zi Chen's soul strength quickly swept through the entire cave. However, he only found a few blue crystal coins. It was not a small amount, but for a soul realm leader who robbed others, it was not a lot. "There's a secret door here." Yi Yuan brought Zi Chen and the other two to a room, then pointed at a huge portrait and said. Although this was a cave, the decorations were more luxurious than many high-end residences. "How do you know?" Zi Chen asked in a calm voice. "I was born with sharp senses. The reason why I was able to escape was because I felt something was wrong. I had a stomachache and went to the toilet." Yi Yuan answered Zi Chen's question with a young voice. Lan Hongyi pushed forward, and the portrait and the stone wall began to retreat, revealing a passage. Her eyes were filled with curiosity. She lowered her head and said, "I couldn't tell that you're a treasure hunter. Follow us from now on, and you'll definitely find a lot of good things." Yi Yuan's eyes were red. He had lost his family and was a homeless person. Lan Hongyi's eyes were filled with regret. She shouldn't have said that and reminded him of something sad. "Let's go and see what good things there are inside." Zi Chen took the lead and walked in. Inside was a passage that led downwards. Zi Chen seemed to be familiar with the place as he walked down. When they reached the end, they arrived at a stone room that was dozens of square meters. The stone room was shining brightly, and there were dozens of things placed inside. Zi Chen's gaze fell on a stone. It was about the size of a human head, and it flickered with various colors. It was like a large, colorful gem. Other than that, he didn't even look at the other things. "This is a miracle stone." At this moment, a cry of surprise rang out. It came from Lan Rui. His gaze also fell on the stone. Lan Hongyi's eyes were also filled with disbelief. After her eyes fell on the colorful gem, she couldn't move them away. It was unknown if it was because of the light, but Yi Yuan's gaze was also flickering. "Miracle stone? What's that?" Zi Chen asked in puzzlement. "It's a type of miracle that can be compatible with everyone's soul power." Lan Rui said excitedly, "It's a supreme treasure material for refining soul weapons, and the soul weapons refined from it are also supreme treasures." Lan Rui pointed at himself and said, "For example, if you give it to me, its function will be like the soul weapon I destroyed before. It can improve my illusions. If I give it to you, it can also strengthen your soul power attacks. If you don't believe me, you can try it now. Even if it hasn't been refined, its function is still powerful. Hurry up and try it. Only by personally experiencing it can you know how extraordinary it is." Lan Rui exclaimed, "In my life, I've only seen a miracle stone once, and it's only the size of a palm." Under Lan Rui's urging, a light of energy appeared in Zi Chen's palm and enveloped the miracle stone. The miracle stone slowly moved forward and fell into Zi Chen's hand. In the next moment, a feeling of water merging appeared, as if this thing was originally his. Chapter 3784. This was a very wonderful feeling, so wonderful that Zichen even had an illusion in his heart that he came here from the Saint Spirit realm for this. The two were so compatible, as if they were one. He tried to release a ray of energy, and the miracle stone in his hand immediately lit up. This time, it was no longer colorful, but lightning. Some of the dazzling lightning contained a powerful aura. As if using a soul technique, Zichen's strength greatly increased. It really is a good thing. Zichen let out a gasp of surprise. Yi Yuan's lips curled into a smile, but it quickly disappeared. Of course it's a good thing, Lan Hongyi said. Such a big piece can even be said to be a priceless treasure. Once others know about it, many forces will not hesitate to fight to get it. Zichen put down the miracle stone. Without the support of Zichen's soul power, the miracle stone continued to release a bright light. It was indeed extraordinary. Then, he turned to look at Yi Yuan and said, "You've heard it. This thing is priceless. Take it and you can kill anyone you want. Maybe it's not impossible to destroy the entire Luowei city." Lan Hongyi suddenly opened her eyes wide in disbelief, as if saying, "What are you talking about? Where can I find such a good thing? Are you going to refuse?" Yi Yuan shook his head and said, "I don't trust others, but you are good people. I only trust you." Looking at the still hesitant Zichen, Lan Rui said, "If it's just killing Luo Long, it shouldn't be a problem." Zichen understood what Lan Rui meant. Of course, he would not miss such an opportunity. Even the future successor of the Lan family was moved, which showed how extraordinary it was. After pondering for a moment, he said, "Go and call Shan Ya over." Lan Hongyi said in dissatisfaction, "Are you ordering me? Nothing has happened between us yet. What right do you have to order me?" Zichen patted his forehead, somewhat speechless. In just a moment, Shan Ya and Noah appeared here at the same time, which made Yi Yuan's immature expression change slightly. When the two came here and saw the things here, they were extremely shocked. It was just that with their eyesight, they could barely recognize anything. In this regard, the two of them shared the same view as Zichen. Zichen picked up the miracle stone and threw it at Shan Ya. "Release your soul power and see what it feels like." Shan Ya took the miracle stone. She was a little confused, but she still followed Zichen's instructions and poured some soul power into it. All the light on the miracle stone disappeared and was replaced by a faint white light. This kind of light was very faint, giving people an illusion. Perhaps this was the original light of the miracle stone. Shan Ya had a puzzled look in her eyes. She retracted her soul power and asked, "What is this?" Zichen did not answer directly. Instead, he asked, "How do you feel?" Shan Ya said, "I don't have a strong feeling, but it seems to resonate with me. Is this a material that can be used to forge soul weapons?" Hearing this, Lang Rui was speechless. Somewhat compatible? What kind of joke was this? This was a miracle stone. For everyone, it was 100% compatible. Zichen said again, "Let Noah try." Shan Ya handed the miracle stone to Noah. Noah tried to release his power into it. In the next moment, the miracle stone bloomed with green light, and a powerful aura surged out. It was as if there were countless wind blades revolving around the miracle stone, making whistling sounds. Noah's eyes were brightening, and his mood became excited. His breathing gradually became faster, just like those guys who had died before, seeing a beauty. This was the correct way to react after seeing the miracle stone. Zichen's and Shan Ya's situations were abnormal. Lang Rui thought in his heart that Noah was insightful. Seeing this scene, Shan Ya also said, "Seems like it's something he can use." Lang Rui was speechless. This was really inexperienced. Zichen waved his hand, and the miracle stone flew over. He directly put it away. Then, he rolled up his sleeves and put away the rest of the items. Finally, he said, "The deal is done. We will go to Luowei City to kill Luo Long, but we need to plan before making a decision. During this time, you can follow us." Yi Yuan's eyes were filled with excitement. He was about to kneel again. Zichen waved his hand and said, No need to be so polite. It's just a deal. After walking out of the dark room and out of the cave, Chen, who saw the light again, was in a good mood. There was a smile on his face. Let's go. We'll go to Luowei City first and find out some information about that young master. Luo Long Noah immediately took out a map. It was the one he had obtained before. The exact location of Luowei City was marked on it. The group of 7 left. During this time, Noah took care of Yi Yuan. Along the way, Chen deliberately took a detour. Clearly, he didn't want others to know that they were the ones who destroyed the group of bandits working for the Luo family. They already had the Ghost King as an enemy, and there were also those fellows from the Lan family eyeing them covetously. It was naturally better to have less trouble. After several days, when they were about to reach Luowei City, they stopped flying. It took them another 2 days to reach the outskirts of Luowei City. The prosperity of this place surprised Chen. There were many caravans coming and going. There was an endless stream of horses and carriages. Occasionally, he would even see a Soul Void Realm expert. In some of the larger groups, he could faintly sense the aura of a Soul Void Realm expert. This is one of the main paths to Sacred Mountain. It's normal for it to be so prosperous. Longrui said. Sacred Mountain? It's a place that contains the sacred talisman arts. Many descenders gather there. It's said that as long as one ascends Sacred Mountain, they can obtain all kinds of powerful sacred talisman arts. Longrui said, that place is already the border of Blue Sand State. It's even past Blue Sand State. The meaning of Longrui's words was very clear. The Lan family could no longer touch Sacred Mountain. However, Chen's focus was not on this. He asked curiously, you're saying that there are many descenders there? There are indeed many of them. Are there many descenders here? I don't dare to say that there are descenders every year, but there are often descenders. Longrui said, although descenders don't have a good reputation, it has to be said that they have made great contributions in this world. Chen's expression changed. It was because of him that they came here this time. It was said that no one from the Holy Thunder Clan had come here for many years. Then, which faction did the people who came here often come from? And where did they come from? The group walked to the city gate. There were guards at the gate. Everyone who entered had to pay an entrance fee. Chapter 3785. Lan Rui had already prepared the blue crystal coins. The entrance fee was 2 per person. There were many caravans waiting to enter, and there was a long queue at the city gate. After entering the city, the prosperity of the city was even more unexpected. People came and went. Lan Rui had never been to this city before, and this was his first time here. But compared to the others, he was undoubtedly more experienced. So he first took everyone to find an inn to stay. Each person had a room, and the price was not cheap. If it was the previous few people, they would definitely be speechless. But not now. Although they had experienced many dangerous situations along the way, their harvest was also quite good. Once converted into blue crystal coins, the amount would be a lot. Lan Rui stayed in his room. A moment later, there was a knock on the door, and the person who came in was the inn's shopkeeper. Greetings, Lord. The shopkeeper bowed to Lan Rui. Lan Rui waved his hand and said, no need to be so polite. Are you the highest steward of Luowei City? Guo Tong's face showed hesitation. Then it must be someone else. Seeing the change in the other party's expression, Lan Rui said, I want to see him. After saying that, he threw out a token. This was Lan Rui's own token. Previously, he only said the family's secret code. The moment Guo Tong saw the token, his expression changed. This was because this was the highest level token among the direct descendants of the Lan family. It contained a golden light that could only be activated by a special secret technique. Only the people of the Lan family could activate it. Guo Tong took the token and bowed to Lan Rui again, then turned and left. A moment later, the token was in the hands of an old man. He was the highest steward of the Lan family in this city. Everything in the Lan family here was decided by the old man, including some of the power of life and death. The old man glanced at the token and distinguished it from a fake. He asked, what did the person say? He didn't say anything else. He directly said that he wanted to see Lord Guo Tong replied. As the number 1 figure, Lan Haosho gently waved his hand, and Guo Tong tactfully retreated. Why did he come at this time? Is there a purpose? Lan Haosho frowned slightly. After a moment of silence, he left the room. About a quarter of an hour later, he appeared in Lan Rui's room. The moment he saw Lan Rui, his expression changed. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Old servant Lan Haosho greets young master." Lan Rui waved his hand and said, "Since your surname is Lan, you are not a servant. Get up quickly." Lan Haosho stood up when he heard the voice. Clearly, he did not expect that the person who came was the young master of the Lan family. "You've seen me." This old servant had been to the family once and was fortunate enough to catch a glimpse of the young master from afar. "I didn't know that the young master would grace us with his presence. I hope the young master can forgive me for not going out to meet you." Lan Haosho cupped his fists and bowed again. His attitude was extremely sincere. Lan Rui said, "Today, I asked you to help me pass a message back. Only the patriarch can see this message." Lan Haosho stood up, his expression turning solemn. "Young master, please give me your orders." Lan Rui took out a jade slip that he had prepared long ago. There was already a seal on it. He said, "Send this back to the family. At the same time, tell the family head that I need a suitable soul weapon, as well as a set of female defensive armor. If my contribution points are not enough, then use this news to exchange for it." "Yes." Lan Haosho turned and left. "Wait." Lan Rui suddenly thought of something and said, "Tell me about the distribution of power in Luowei City. Also, tell me some information about the Luo family and Luo Long." Lan Haosho's eyes flashed slightly. He nodded again and left. After leaving the inn and getting on the carriage, Lan Haosho became very worried. He looked at the jade slip in his hand and recalled what the young master said before. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart, could it be that the family already knows? So they sent the young master to investigate this matter? And inside this seal, perhaps the clue the young master obtained is inside. Looking at the jade slip in his hand again and again, Lan Haosho still did not have the courage to break the seal. What if it was a trap? After returning to his residence, he sent people out to make some arrangements. When he secretly sent out the message, he also obtained the information he wanted. A total of 7 people entered the city in the morning. Among them was a child. The young master did not reveal his identity and directly went to the inn operated by the Lan family. Since they just entered the city, why did they ask for information about the Luo family? Lan Haosho's heart was filled with confusion. Then, should I give him this information or not? Asterisk 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 asterisk. After Zi Chen returned to his room, he took a comfortable bath. He was unfamiliar with this city, but he did not have to worry. After all, there were 2 Lan family disciples by his side. Moreover, if he was not wrong, this inn should be the property of the Lan family. Even if the Lan family had complaints about him in private, they would not do anything to him in the inn. He took out the azure jade token given by the Blue Star ancestor. The ancestor only said to take it out if there was a difficulty, but did not say how to use it. What Zi Chen did not know was that when he took out this blue jade token, a wave of information that even he could not perceive spread out layer by layer. The information wave spread through the inn, the streets, and even the city and was still spreading. After looking at the token a few more times, Zi Chen put it away. Not long after, Noah knocked on the door and entered. He wanted to exchange the things that everyone had obtained in this city. Zi Chen thought for a moment and said, "Then there is no need to go out again. Go directly to Lan Rui. His people should be able to handle this matter properly. However, everything that we obtained last time is not allowed to be sold." Naturally, there was no problem for the Lan family to deal with these things. However, he was afraid that some people would secretly tamper with this matter. Just like how the Ghost King's people attacked Zi Chen's group in that area. Noah obviously understood this and nodded. For Lan Rui, this was a very small matter. He only needed to give instructions. Everyone took out the things that they did not need this time and waited for the conversion price. As if he knew that Lan Rui's identity was not ordinary, the inn's manager, Guotong, personally took care of it. He was very detailed and thoughtful. In the evening, the information about the Luo family was in Lan Rui's hands. Lan Rui was not interested in the other forces. His gaze skimmed through and landed on the file of the Luo family. On it was written the many properties of the Lan family. As expected of a family force, their wealth was endless. The current city lord of the Luo family, Luo Haishan, was in the human soul realm. This was not surprising to Lan Rui. With such a good place, if there was no human soul realm overseeing it, this place would have long been in chaos. Next was Luo Long. This was also one of the goals of their trip. After taking the benefits, they naturally had to kill Luo Long, the #1 genius of Luo Wei City. He was in the soul realm and had the title of the #1 soul realm in Luo Wei. His battle strength was unparalleled. He was usually kind and generous. His reputation was very resounding. It was rumored that he was fancied by a certain force in the Holy Mountain and was currently in the observation stage. Seeing the news, Lan Rui frowned. If those bandits from a few days ago did not lie, Luo Long was definitely a devil. How could such a person have a good reputation? Chapter 3786. An invisible wave of information was transmitted out. Almost no one could sense this wave. The entire blue sand continent was enveloped. Almost no one could sense it, but there were always some special existences who could sense it. An ancient organization that had been silent for countless years had awakened. Lan Rui walked out of his room and knocked on Zi Chen's door. He handed the information in his hand to Zi Chen. "Take a look, it seems to be very different from what we imagined." Zi Chen took the information and looked at it carefully. When he saw the part about Luo Long, he could not help but frown. Where did this information come from? Zi Chen, who was still looking at the information, asked. Lan Rui said, "The family just sent it over." "Is it reliable?" Zi Chen asked casually again. This caused Lan Rui to be stunned. "Why do you ask?" Zi Chen put down the information in his hand and said, "The Lan family is indeed powerful, but the Luo family is the local snake here. As the saying goes, a strong dragon cannot suppress a local snake." Lan Rui understood Zi Chen's words and said, "You mean to say that the Lan family and the Luo family are related?" Zi Chen raised his head and looked at Lan Rui. "There is definitely a connection, but I can't guess what kind of relationship it is. Take this material for example, it seems to have explained everything, but it didn't explain anything. For example, some of the Luo family's properties, how much are they worth? Another example is Luo Long. He is known as the #1 soul realm expert in Luo Wei City. What are his methods?" Lan Rui's expression changed. He didn't think too much about it, he just felt puzzled. For example, the last sentence, "It is said that a certain power in the Holy Mountain has taken a fancy to it." But since it is said, why is there no other negative news? Of course, you can't say that there's a problem with your people. Zi Chen stood up and walked out. "Where are you going?" Lan Rui asked. "Although we agreed to this deal, if we really killed someone who shouldn't have been killed, it would be hard for our conscience to forgive us. If the other party really shouldn't have died, then this deal will be cancelled." Zi Chen opened the door and walked out of the inn. Whether it was good or bad, he would know. Asterisk 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 in the City Lord's mansion, the current City Lord, Luo Haishan, personally received this important figure with the surname Lan. "I wonder why Brother Lan has suddenly come here?" Luo Haishan asked with a smile. He was well aware of the steward's personality. He didn't like others calling him by his name. Normally, he loved to hear people call him Brother Lan or Lord Lan. Lan Haosho glanced at the fine tea and snacks placed in front of him and said, "Between you and me, let's not beat around the bush. Has young Master Luo Long offended anyone from my Lan family recently?" Luo Haishan was stunned when he heard that and said, "What's Brother Lan talking about?" No matter how immature Luo Long was, he should know who to provoke and who not to provoke, right? "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Lan Haosho shook his head and said, "No, it's just that a direct descendant of the Lan family came to the city and asked about young Master Luo Long." Since he didn't provoke the Lan family, I'm relieved. Luo Haishan was a little surprised. After pondering for a while, he asked, I wonder what realm that Lan family's direct descendant is in. Lan Haosho said, he should be in the Soul realm. Luo Haishan smiled when he heard that and said, could it be that he heard about my son and wanted to spar with him? After all, they're all young people. They always want to find an opponent of the same generation. Lan Haosho's eyes also lit up. It was not impossible. How did Brother Lan reply? Luo Haishan asked. Of course, I spoke positively. Lan Haosho said, you should be clear about your young master's personality. I'm afraid of offending the direct descendant of the Lan family, so I've arranged for some people to stay outside. Even if they don't believe me, they can send people out to investigate. The people I've arranged will take care of this matter. Brother Lan is wise. When my son comes back, I hope Brother Lan can recommend him. When Lan Haosho left, Luo Haishan gave him a small gift as thanks. After Zi Chen walked out of the inn, he looked around and then walked towards the bustling streets. He didn't ask anyone along the way. Like a passerby, he ate a few snacks on East Street and 2 skewers of phoenix wings on West Street. Of course, they weren't real phoenixes. He walked and stopped along the way. He went to a few shops, looked at some holy talismans, and asked about the price of a few soul techniques. Other than that, there was nothing else. He looked like a very normal passerby, but no one knew that Zi Chen's soul had already spread out. That rare sharp perception captured any abnormalities in his surroundings. During this period, if he wanted to listen to the conversations on the neighboring streets, he could clearly hear them. Therefore, those voices that suddenly disappeared when they talked about a certain person or a certain matter seemed especially sudden. Although he didn't ask a single question about Luo Long, Zi Chen already knew what he wanted to know after this trip. Looking at the darkening sky, the street lanterns had been hung up. The streets were brightly lit, as if it was daytime. In the attic, there were women dressed in loose clothing. They kept waving at the passers-by and casting seductive glances at them. Some rich guests were warmly received by the ladies and entered one room after another. Soon, those rooms were filled with some sounds that made one's heart beat faster. Zi Chen gave up on the idea of going over to investigate, and blocked his perception in that direction and walked forward. Suddenly, the aroma of noodles wafted into Zi Chen's nostrils, causing the already full Zi Chen to feel even more hungry. He walked forward and saw a small restaurant at the corner of the street. The restaurant mainly served noodles, and the owner was best at sour soup noodles. The flickering oil lamp made the noodle restaurant a little dim. Zi Chen walked in. The restaurant wasn't big, and there were only 6 tables and 1 guest. The guest was eating noodles. The owner was an old man, and he handed a small dish to the guest. After seeing Zi Chen come in, the owner said, "A bowl of sour soup noodles?" Zi Chen nodded and smiled. "I came because of the fragrance." The old man gestured for Zi Chen to take a seat. There were no other waiters in the restaurant. The old man had 3 jobs: waiters, cooks, and shopkeeper. The guest eating was a burly man. In front of him was a big bowl, if it could still be called a bowl. He glanced at Zi Chen and asked, "First time here?" Zi Chen nodded and smiled. "I just arrived today." The burly man said, "I guessed right. People like us would order a big bowl with noodles and soup. Old Tang's cooking is very good. Otherwise, how can it be eaten? I'll try it first. If it's good, I'll come again tomorrow." Soon, a bowl of sour soup noodles was served. The bowl was half the size of the burly man's, but the amount was enough. It had the unique fragrance of sour soup. As usual, the old man gave Zi Chen a small dish of sour and spicy radish. It was sweet and crispy. "Old Tang, I heard that your family has been running a noodle shop here for generations. How many years has it been?" Seeing that Zi Chen had started to eat, the burly man and the shopkeeper started to talk about family matters. "I don't remember how many years, but it's been more than a dozen generations." The old shopkeeper seemed to be reminiscing. "For as long as I can remember, a bowl of noodles cost less than 1 blue crystal coin. But now, it's 2. We'll eat even if it costs 20, let alone 2. But why don't you want to continue passing down your good cooking skills? The burly man asked again. The old shopkeeper suddenly smiled and said, I thought about it before. No matter what, it's passed down from my ancestors. I can't throw it away. But I don't want to anymore. Zichen was curious. He raised his head and asked, why? Don't you think it's a pity? The old shopkeeper said, no, it's not a pity at all. Because there are things in this world that are more important than the teachings of our ancestors. For example, a certain important person. Speaking of people, Zichen thought of something and said, Old man, can I do something for you? Young man, please speak. The old man sat at the table next to Zichen. At this time, the strong man also finished the big bowl of noodles and even drank the soup. He turned his head and said, Old Tang's family has been running a shop for generations. As long as it's about this city, Old Tang knows everything. Zichen put down his chopsticks and said, I want to ask, do you know Luo Long? Chapter 3787. The small restaurant was quiet for a moment. The flickering candlelight also seemed to have stopped. The shadows of the 3 were extremely long, looking like 3 clusters of shadows. The atmosphere was a little strange. Are you talking about the lawless second generation of the Luo family? Before the shopkeeper could speak, the strong man spoke. The candlelight flickered slightly, and the light also became soft. The strange atmosphere from before was like an illusion. I only know that he is the son of the city lord, but I don't know anything else. What kind of person is he? Zichen asked. Compared to those notorious people in history, he should be considered a good person, right? The strong man snorted and said, but he is still young. Maybe in a few years, the new generation will surpass the old generation and catch up with those old people. So, his reputation is very bad. Do you think an evil cultivator who relies on devouring lives to strengthen himself will have a good reputation? Especially that lascivious dragon of his, who knows how many good girls it has killed. The strong man looked at Zichen and said, You are so concerned about him. Is he your friend? There was obvious disdain in the strong man's eyes, and his previous enthusiasm was gone. Zichen shook his head and said, No, I just heard about him, so I asked casually. If he is not a friend, then he wants to spar with him. In addition to his lascivious dragon, his double wheel is also quite famous. He is not easy to deal with. After paying 2 blue crystal coins for a bowl of noodles and getting the information he wanted, he had to admit that this was a big gain. After walking out of the noodle restaurant, Zichen found that those people followed him and escorted him to the inn. The shopkeeper, Guotong, saw Zichen coming in and nodded to him, forming a good relationship. Zichen also nodded and smiled, then walked to his room. The corridor was quiet. Except for the waiter who served tea and water, no one else passed by. Lan Rui did not immediately come to ask for information. After returning to his room, Zichen began to cultivate. He did not have many talisman papers for cultivation, so he needed to buy some. Early the next morning, several people came to Zichen's room, including Yi Yuan. After closing the door, Lan Hongyi asked, How was it? When are we going to kill them? Zichen looked at Yi Yuan and said, We haven't gotten any valuable information yet. Let's wait a few days. Lan Hongyi looked at Lan Rui. Still no news. Lan Rui said, It will naturally take some time to gather information. How can it be so simple? Moreover, we still need to plan in detail. After all, this is Luowei City, their territory. Even if we succeed, how will we escape? Lan Hongyi nodded. What he said made sense. Revenge is important, but I hope that everyone can survive, Yi Yuan said. Lan Hongyi smiled and stroked his head. Yi Yuan said, I want to go out for a walk. Sure, big sister will accompany you, Lan Hongyi said with a smile. Noah, take Yi Yuan out for a walk, Zichen said. Okay. Noah nodded. Lan Hongyi looked at Zichen with dissatisfaction. She did not understand why Zichen did not like the poor child Yi Yuan. Although he was not against him, he was not friendly either. If Lan Hongyi's perception was correct, this happened after the 2 soul realms died, and Yi Yuan started to kowtow to them for help. Did he think that he had no backbone and knelt down so casually? Or did he think that his request for help made Zi Chen feel embarrassed? But he used a priceless treasure to exchange for it, right? It was a fair trade. It was not easy to come to this city, so everyone naturally could not stay idle. The three women decided to go out for a walk. Only Zi Chen and Lan Rui were left in the room. How was it? Lan Rui asked. After I went out, I was followed. Along the way, I encountered some conversations that were unfavorable to the Luo family. They would all disappear for no reason, only leaving behind some good words. Zi Chen said, those people escorted me all the way. According to the information I heard, that Luo Long is definitely not a good person. He has a dual-wield weapon and raises a lewd dragon. It is said that he has harmed many women. Lan Rui's expression became solemn. Since Zi Chen could obtain this information, there was no reason why Lan Haoshuo could not. Now it seemed that everything was as Zi Chen said. There was a close connection between the two. Then, could Lan Haoshuo continue to be trusted? What do we do now? Lan Rui asked. Let's wait and see first, Zi Chen said. Lan Rui nodded and said, that's fine. I got the family to give us a new soul weapon. Once we get it, our battle strength will naturally increase greatly. It won't be too late to make a move then. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Although Lan Haoshuo was a bit disloyal, he did not dare to be negligent in the matter of passing on the news. After only 2 days, the news had already reached the family head's hands. Looking at the untouched jade piece, the family head unsealed it and saw the contents inside. His calm expression began to change little by little. Looking at the contents, there was surprise and anger. Although the contents and details of the battle were not described in detail, the family head could still imagine the situation of 9 deaths and 1 life. Otherwise, how could the powerful soul weapon of the Lan family be broken? I originally thought that you guys only had some complaints in your hearts and would occasionally cause some trouble. Who would have thought that you guys had such an idea? The family head's expression gradually became gloomy. He lightly pointed a finger. The jade piece began to emit light and an ancient piece of jade appeared. If Lan Qian was here, he would definitely recognize this piece of ancient jade. It was the piece that he sent out last time and had someone give it to the Ghost King. And the target of the tracking was Noah, who he had physical contact with when he was being unreasonable last time. Gather the upper echelons of the family. Quickly go to the conference hall. Today, a family meeting will be held. All the elders in the family must be present for the conference held in the name of the family head. Half an hour later, dozens of elders appeared. These elders all held real power and held high positions in the family. Their words were spoken with absolute authority. The Lan family head showed everyone the news that Lan Rui had sent back. The crowd, who were originally sitting in a relaxed manner, straightened their clothes and sat upright when they saw the ancestor of Blue Star appear. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The news that followed caught them off guard. The purpose of the Lan family's existence was to protect the heavenly daughter and let her grow up smoothly. At the same time that everyone was shocked, they also found it hard to accept this news. In Luo Wei City, Yi Yuan went out early in the morning again. Noah was still by his side. This city was very big. The 3 girls were still strolling around the city. During this time, they bought many things that girls liked. Because of their appearances, the 3 girls always attracted a lot of attention wherever they went. Zi Chen also came to the noodle shop as usual and ordered a bowl of noodles. He wanted a large portion with soup and noodles. Chapter 3788. The conference hall became abnormally silent because this news was too shocking. Could it be that the Lan family was created by the ancestor of Cerulean planet just to nurture the fairy? The fairy was not the ancestor's daughter, but the ancestor's mission to protect. In an instant, the glory of the Lan family was shattered. Although everyone was not as depressed as Lang Rui, they were not much better. How could the powerful Lan family, the glory of countless people, become like this? The surroundings were silent. It was extremely quiet. Everyone's expression was very ugly. After a long while, an old man said leisurely, I have to say, this joke is a little too much. The others looked at each other, their eyes flashing. They were all shrewd elders and quickly reacted. Each of them let out a long sigh of relief. Third elder, do you think this is a joke? The Lan family head looked at the elder who spoke. The elder who was ranked third in the Lan family said, "We understand Langrue's desire to protect the fairy, and we also support him. However, it's a little ridiculous to use such a joke in exchange for greater support." "Oh, no, it's a little too much." "That's right, this is indeed inappropriate. It's too thoughtless and too childish," another elder said. Immediately after, the other elders nodded one after another, indicating that this was a joke. The ancestor of Cerulean Planet was very important to the Lan family, but the news had already said that it was only a clone and had already dissipated. Although the ancestor's fate was unknown, it did not say that he was still alive. Relatively speaking, the power in the hands of the elders was real, and the resources were seen with their own eyes. In such a situation, who would be willing to share the meat that was in their hands? Not to mention the news of the ancestor, even if the ancestor gave a personal order, they would obey on the surface but disobey on the inside, unless the ancestor came personally. In the face of huge benefits, they could ignore the ancestor of the past. The elders all expressed their opinions, but the Lan family head was unmoved. After a moment, he looked at the silent first elder and said, "First elder, what do you think of this matter? This matter is of great importance and needs to be decided again. Perhaps Rui-Er really saw the ancestor's clone, but the truth might not be so. This child is stubborn and will say whatever he thinks. This matter is indeed suspected of being a joke." At this point, the first elder also expressed his opinion. The other elders nodded their heads in agreement. The Lan clan master glanced at the elders and said, "Since everyone thinks that this is a joke, then let's treat it as a joke for now." This time, Rui-Er and Hongi were in danger and suffered great losses. "How about we use this information to exchange for 2 soul weapons from the treasury?" Some of the elders' expressions changed slightly. They wanted to say something. At this moment, the great elder said, "Protecting the holy maiden is a meritorious deed, so it should be given." Those elders who were complaining in their hearts all shut their mouths. Just the loss of 2 soul weapons in the treasury was enough to make everyone treat this matter as a joke. There was no need to invest a large amount of resources to support the heavenly maiden. This was naturally a good thing. Since no one refused, the matter was settled. Then, the patriarch said, "There is one more thing that needs to be decided by the elders." He took out the piece of ancient jade. "This is the clan's tracking jade, and it's of the highest grade. This is the reason why Rui-Er and Hongi were in such a dangerous situation." The expressions of the group of elders, who had calmed down earlier, changed drastically. This was no small matter. Murdering the successor of the clan was a serious crime. The target of the ancient jade is a person called Nuoya. He has been in the Lan family for a few days, and there are no more than 3 people from the Lan family who have spoken to him. The patriarch's gaze gradually turned cold. There are 6 of them, and only 3 of them are at the Soul Realm. However, the enemy sent out more than 10 Soul Realm experts, dozens of Soul Void Realm experts, and most importantly, 2 of them are at the Human Soul Realm. The elders were very clear about what such combat strength meant. To be able to survive under such a sure-kill situation was simply a fluke. "I know that many of you are not willing to let the Holy Maiden live. I've only pretended not to see all the trouble you've caused. But this time, you actually dared to have designs on the successor. I need a clear explanation for this matter." With a bang, the patriarch slammed the ancient jade on the table. "If you can't give an explanation, then we'll use the clan's rules." Many elders' hearts trembled. The clan's rules clearly stated that once the successor was determined, internal strife was not allowed for any reason. As long as they were found, all those involved would be executed and all branches of the bloodline would be expelled. Up until now, the Lan family had too many clansmen. For example, the dozens of elders in front of them represented dozens of bloodline branches. And behind them, there were many bloodlines. It seemed like everyone had the surname Lan, but with the development of generations, the bloodline had long changed. Asterisk 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 Z Chen entered the noodle restaurant again. The restaurant's business was very good and it was already full of people. The burly man sat there alone. It was unknown if it was because of his burly figure, but no one shared a table with him. Zichen walked over and sat opposite the burly man. The burly man raised his head and glanced at Zichen. He said, "It's you, kid. Don't you usually come in the evening? I was bored and just happened to come out for a walk. I walked here and decided to come in and eat a bowl of noodles." Zichen stood up and took a plate of side dishes from the counter and sat down. A bowl of noodles and a plate of side dishes. This was the rule. At this moment, the old man, who had already become a chef, came out with 2 bowls of noodles. When he saw Zichen, he nodded at him. After putting down the noodles, he said, "Soup and noodles?" "Yes." Zichen responded and put a piece of radish in his mouth. It was still so refreshing. "Want a bite?" He looked at the burly man and said. The burly man curled his lips and said, "I don't drink during the day." Zichen said, "It's my treat." The burly man said loudly, "Old Tang, we'll make the noodles later. 2 jars of earth roasted meat and a pound of beef." Zichen put down his chopsticks. "You really don't want to be polite." The burly man laughed. "I see that young master has an extraordinary appearance and unparalleled talent. You must be from a rich family." Zichen rolled his eyes and said, "You can understand if you say it yourself." The burly man smiled embarrassedly and said, "One look and I know you're rich. You're just here for the novelty. It's a waste not to drink. If you miss today, you might not come tomorrow." Zichen gave the burly man a thumbs up. "Good eyesight. Old Tang, 4 jars of earth roasted meat and 2 pounds of beef. You're forthright. The people who came here to eat would not sit for long. They would leave after eating." At this moment, 3 people paid the bill and were about to leave. Suddenly, one of them exclaimed. At the entrance of this small noodle house, there were 3 beauties. The exclamations continued to rise and fall. The whole noodle house seemed to be brightened by these beauties. Asterisk 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 south of Luowei City, a small team of 5 people entered the mountains. The leader was a young man with a handsome face. His cheeks were slightly pale, showing an unhealthy color. He was Luo Long, the young master of Luowei City. Let's go and see what good things Santos has prepared for us. Chapter 3789. There were 4 guards beside Luo Long. One of them stepped forward and said, "Young master, we received news earlier that a direct descendant of the Lan clan came to the city and wanted to meet you." The city lord asked young master to return immediately. Luo Long waved his hand and said, "It's just a direct descendant of the Lan family, not the Lan family's patriarch. Why should I care about him?" The guard said, "No matter what, we are still in the Blue Sand state. The Lan family occupies half of the sky here. There's still the other half of the sky. Besides, once I really join the sacred mountain, won't the Lan family have to think twice when they see us?" Luo Long snorted coldly and said, "If it weren't for the Lan family's reputation, would that old thing have the guts to snatch food from our tiger's mouth? Why should we give him a root? Which root isn't covered with blue crystal coins? How much has he benefited from us all these years? Let that direct descendant wait. Let's go find Shanos first. Maybe they have already found something good." The group of 5 quickly moved forward. Their goal was very clear. About a day later, they arrived at the designated place. The expected welcome did not appear. The surroundings were quiet, or rather, dead silent. "Where are they?" Luo Long frowned and said, "It seems that they have become more and more daring recently. When they see this young master, they don't even take the initiative to welcome me. Something doesn't seem right." A guard quickly moved forward and went deep into the forest. A moment later, his exclamation sounded, "Young master." The few of them moved forward and saw some corpses. They were the sole illusionary realm experts who had died back then and the 2 sole true realm leaders. However, their corpses had already been gnawed on. It was impossible to distinguish their original appearances. Luo Long looked at these corpses and then looked at the quiet mountain peak above. His face became gloomy. "Let's go and see what's going on." What they saw were still corpses. There were corpses everywhere. Not a single one was alive. Some were tortured to death, but most were killed in one blow. They had been dead for a long time. Let's see if there are any other clues. Killing intent surged in Luo Long's eyes. The four of them spread out and looked around, but they found nothing. Is this a double cross? Looking at the corpses all over the ground, Luo Long muttered in his heart. It wasn't that this kind of thing hadn't happened before, but after the Luo family was truly enraged and chased the enemy for thousands of miles, exterminating them along with their entire clan, it had never happened again. Could it be that after so many years, someone has already forgotten the dignity of the Luo family? Luo Long's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Let's go back first and find someone to investigate carefully. Once we find the culprit, I will exterminate his entire family. Damned direct descendant of the Lan clan. You're really a jinx, and you're in trouble the moment you arrive. Asterisk 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 asterisk. It was the three girls who came to the noodle house. When Zichen saw them, he immediately stood up and waved at them. He was very surprised. I saw you on the streets earlier, but you disappeared in the blink of an eye. I didn't expect you to come here. Lan Hongyi stepped forward and sat down beside Zichen. Is this the restaurant you were talking about? It looks good. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei also walked in. When they came closer, Lan Jiumeng glanced at the brawny man. The brawny man's gaze met Lan Gumeng's, and he tactfully moved to the side, almost to the corner. The two girls sat down. The brawny man quietly gave Zichen a thumbs up, as if to say, "Little brother, you're strong." At this time, the other diners were looking at them with shocked expressions. Among them, there were a few gazes that landed on Zichen. Their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. How lucky was it to be surrounded by such beautiful women? All of them wished they could kick him aside and take his place. The noodles here are very good. You guys should try it. Old Tang, 3 bowls of sour soup noodles. Zichen turned around and took 3 side dishes. Isn't there wine? Why are we eating noodles? Lan Hongyi saw Old Tang holding 2 dusty bottles of soju, so she took the initiative to take 2 of them. She placed one in front of Zichen and the other in front of her. With a light tap, the seal opened, and the fragrance of the wine spread. Zichen was slightly stunned. Lan Hongyi placed the other 2 bottles in front of Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei. This made the brawny man leaning against the corner, who only occupied 1 table, feel wronged. It seemed that Zichen had invited him to drink this wine. Old Tang, make the noodles later. Also, 2 more jars of soju. The soju was brewed by Old Tang himself, and it tasted good. Zichen had drunk it with the brawny man a few times before. The brawny man's name was Ou Li, and he was very forthright. He was the one who told him about Luo Long. Aren't you shopping today? Zichen looked at the 3 of them. These days, the 3 girls came out almost every day to shop and buy a lot of things. Whether it was good or not was secondary. The most important thing was that it was comfortable. It's boring. I don't want to shop anymore. Come, drink with me. Lan Hongyi poured the soba into a porcelain bowl and raised it to Zichen. She was such a beautiful woman, yet she showed her forthright side. Zichen also raised his bowl. At this time, Shan Wei and Lan Jiumeng also raised their bowls. The porcelain bowls clinked, and the wine tilted slightly. The 4 of them drank it all in one gulp. This made the diners beside them even more envious. Ou Li, on the other hand, raised his glass with a hint of bitterness and drank a bowl alone. After drinking a bowl of wine, Zichen felt as if his stomach was on fire. The 3 women's cheeks were also slightly red. Their originally beautiful faces seemed to have an additional sense of intoxication. Lan Jiumeng picked up the second bowl of wine and stood up. She raised the bowl full of wine, looked at Zichen, and said sincerely, "Little Mute salutes you with this cup of wine." Zichen quickly stood up and drank it all in one gulp. Ou Li also stood up quietly and drank a bowl alone. At the lively table, he drank so solitarily. He was the only one. After the second bowl of wine, Lan Gumeng's cheeks were like the sunset glow. This made this otherworldly heavenly girl seem to have a bit more of a worldly aura. Come, Zichen. I also salute you. I said that you were a coward before. It was my fault. I take back my disrespectful words. Lan Hongyi picked up the bowl full of wine. Zichen could only raise his bowl. Lan Hongyi continued, in my eyes, you are no longer a coward. You are worse than a beast. After saying that, Lan Hongyi drank it all in one gulp. Zichen's hand hung in the air. He looked stunned. He didn't know whether to drink or not. He remembered an illusion about being worse than a beast. Oyu Li obviously didn't know this. He kept sneaking glances at the two of them, as if he wanted to see something. Looking at the stunned Zichen, Lan Hongyi said, drink. What are you waiting for? You are just worse than a beast. Next time, just take the initiative. Then, the three women laughed. Zichen was a little depressed. He drank the wine in his bowl. What was this? At some point, the noodle house was empty. Old Tang stood at the side, leaning against the counter and laughing foolishly. After 3 rounds of drinking, Oyu Li joined in. After all, they weren't drinking his wine. He even shamelessly toasted the 3 beauties. The beauties' return made him even more flattered. Old Tang, how about a bowl? Zichen looked at Old Tang, who was laughing foolishly at the side. Okay, let's drink a bowl. Old Tang seemed to be affected by the atmosphere in front of him. It was rare for him to be so bold. The 3 women continued to return the toast and drank happily. Oyu Li picked up his bowl again. He looked at Zichen and said, the guy you asked about a few days ago, Luo Long, hasn't returned yet. However, he should be back soon. Zichen nodded. After learning about Luo Long's character, the deal was done. At some point in time, Noah had also brought Yi Yuan here, so he joined in as well. Not long after, Lan Rui also came. Everyone was present. Except for Yi Yuan, the others were drinking freely as if they were playing like crazy. Yi Yuan looked at them quietly. There was a calmness in his eyes that matched his age. Today, we won't go home until we are drunk. Zichen, who was a little drunk, said. We won't go home until we are drunk. Everyone raised their bowls in unison. They didn't know whether the road ahead would be difficult or dangerous. They didn't even know what tomorrow would be like. On this rare day of relaxation, Zichen also enjoyed the happiness in front of him. Luo Long finally returned. Chapter 3790. It was not an exaggeration to describe Luo Long's return as a complete mess. On his way back, the streets were in chaos. Luo Long was like a king returning to the mountain, immensely pleased with himself. However, he soon received a message, and the huge commotion slowly disappeared. After returning to the city lord's mansion, Luo Long saw his father and the person in charge of the Lan family in this city. Father, Uncle Lan is here too. Luo Haishan looked at Luo Long with a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. I told you to come back quickly. Not only did you come back so late, but you also caused such a huge commotion. Are you afraid that people don't know who you are? Father, I have something important to say. Luo Long's expression became very serious. At the same time, he glanced at Lan Haosho. Brother Luo, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first. Lan Haosho cupped his fist and said, Brother Lan, don't be in such a hurry. Let's see what this little bastard has to say. Moreover, Brother Lan is not an outsider. Luo Haishan glared at Luo Long with dissatisfaction and said, if you have something to say it quickly. Luo Long naturally knew the relationship between his father and Lan Haosho. Hence, he did not avoid it and said directly, Kiara Mountain has been massacred. What did you say? Luo Haishan's expression changed. Lan Haosho was also slightly stunned. He had interacted with the Luo family for many years, and even had many shady dealings. Of course, he knew what Kiara Mountain meant. Such a place was massacred. Everyone is dead. Not a single person is left alive. Luo Long said coldly, Father, send someone to investigate. You must find the culprit. How long has it been? Luo Haishan asked with a ruthless look in his eyes. Every road meant countless blue crystal coins. Now that Kiara Mountain had been massacred, it was equivalent to someone touching the Luo family's blue crystal coins. How could he let it go? It should have been more than 10 days. Luo Long said, "The culprit must have come prepared. Otherwise, those people would have sent out a message." Luo Haishan snorted, "They must have a death wish." Then, he apologetically cupped his fists at Lan Haosho and said, "Brother Lan, such a big thing has happened. I have to deal with it properly. As for the recommendation..." Lan Haosho waved his hand and said, "There's no need to rush. We can make other arrangements." After that, Lan Haosho bid farewell and left. Luo Haishan sent him off all the way to the outside of the manor. On the carriage, Lan Haosho fell into deep thought. The Luo family had dominated this city for many years, and no one dared to make trouble for them. Then, who was the one who did it at Mount Garuda? Who had the guts to provoke the Luo family? Asterisk 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 asterisk. By the time Zi Chen and his group returned to the inn, the sky had already darkened. This was a rare moment for them to relax. Since Luo Long had returned to the city, it was time for them to come up with a plan. After returning to the room, Zi Chen fell into a deep sleep due to his drunkenness, and so did the others. Comparatively speaking, Yi Yuan was the most clear-headed. It was getting late. He stayed in his room and looked at the sky. A smile appeared on his face. The next moment, his figure disappeared. An undetectable shadow walked in the night, and no one could see it. He went straight to the city lord's mansion. The heavily guarded mansion was nothing to this child. He familiarly passed through one house after another, and finally arrived outside an independent courtyard. The lights here were lit, and there was an undisguised sound coming from inside the house. It was unknown whether the sound insulation was bad, or the noise was too loud. Yi Yuan paused for a moment. When the sound in the house became louder, he raised his hand and threw out an object. A very sharp whistling sound was heard. It was unknown whether the high-pitched sound was frightened, but it came to an abrupt stop. "Which reckless fool is this?" Luo Long's angry voice came from the room. He walked out of the room with disheveled clothes. He didn't see anyone, but he saw a small piece of paper wrapped around a stone. He picked it up doubtfully. He didn't need the light to see the words on it. The next moment, his expression changed greatly, and his eyes surged with endless killing intent. "You dare to provoke me? Even if you're from the Lan family, you must die." Asterisk 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 asterisk. Lan Haosho knew very well what Kiara Mountain was for. He also had a path that belonged to him, just like Kiara Mountain. This time, Kiara Mountain was destroyed for no reason, which made him a little worried. Once this matter was exposed, it would have a great impact on him. In addition, it would be a heavy blow to the Lan family's reputation. When that time came, not only would the Lan family take away the family name, he might not even be able to survive. Just as he was worried, there was a sudden knock on the door. Lan Haosho's heart tightened. It was late at night. Who would knock on his door? "Who is it?" he asked softly, a little nervous. "Lan Kangmang." A voice came from outside the room. "Lan Kangmang?" Lan Haosho was stunned at first, but then he reacted. The big shot of the Lan family had arrived. This made his expression change again, and he actually had the thought of escaping. However, he quickly dismissed the idea. Where could he run to in the blue sand continent? He hurried to open the door. A middle-aged man was standing outside. "Why are you sitting in the room in the middle of the night in a daze instead of sleeping?" Lan Kangmang looked at Lan Haosho and asked. "I can't sleep. Why is Lord here? Did something happen?" Lan Haosho asked cautiously. Lan Kangmang walked forward and sat where Lan Haosho was sitting. "Do you still remember who gave you the family name Lan?" Lan Haosho's heart skipped a beat, and cold sweat immediately overflowed from his forehead. He knelt on the ground and said, "It was the third elder who gave it to me. I, Haosho, will never forget this kindness. Don't be so nervous, it's good that you remember. Let me ask you, is Lan Rui in Luowei City?" Lan Kangmang was very satisfied with Lan Haosho's performance. It seemed that he hadn't forgotten his roots. Aside from young Master Lan Rui, there's also Miss Hongi. Lan Haosho directly mentioned Zi Chen's group. The information was very accurate, and he didn't dare to be careless. As he spoke, He gradually organized his thoughts. Perhaps he was too nervous. The Lan family didn't come because of the matter of Kiara Mountain. Lan Kangmang gently knocked on the table. After listening to Lan Haosho's words, he said, "It seems that you know quite a lot. Now, there's something I need you to do. Please instruct me, Lord." Lan Haosho's heart was completely clear. It seemed that he had scared himself this time. Make those people disappear from Luowei City forever. Chapter 3791. Lan Haosho, who had just stood up, was once again scared to the point of kneeling on the ground. It would be better if they were here to denounce him. If he confessed everything, he might be able to get lenient treatment. However, if the successor of the Lan family were to disappear directly, people would die. Moreover, it would be a whole family that would die. This old servant doesn't dare. This old servant will never dare to be disloyal. Lan Haosho said with a sobbing tone, "The heavens can bear witness to this old servant's sincerity. I was born as a member of the Lan family, and I will die as a ghost of the Lan family. I'm not here to listen to your heartfelt confession. Qian is already dead." Lan Haosho heard a sigh. When he raised his head, he saw tears welling up in Lan Kangmang's eyes. Qian's full name was Lan Qian, Lan Kangmang's son. He was also the one who went to look for Zi Chen in the Lan family to make trouble. The family head needed an explanation. For the sake of the family's interests, they gave him an explanation. He had sacrificed Lan Qian and a portion of the profits to protect the Third Elder's faction. Lan Haosho didn't know what had happened, but Lan Kangmang's sadness couldn't be faked, so this wasn't a test. But even if it wasn't a test, so what? Even if he was given 10 more guts, he wouldn't dare to make a move against the heir of the Lan family. This was a crime that could lead to the extermination of an entire clan. Since I've come in person, it means that there's no turning back for this matter. If this matter succeeds, I guarantee that you won't die. If it fails, both of us will die. Lan Kangmang stared into Lan Haosho's eyes and said, "I don't care what you do in Luowei City. As long as you succeed, even if you want to become the city lord of Luowei City, it won't be a problem. You can even change the name of this city to Haosho City. But you have to do it." Lan Haosho's expression began to change. Lan Kangmang said, "I'll give you a day to consider. You can't touch anyone from the Lan clan. You need external help." After Lan Kangmang left, Lan Haosho stood there for an entire night, not moving at all. When the sky brightened, he let out a sigh, feeling as if he had aged a few hundred years in an instant. It was obvious that if he did not agree to this matter, the Lan family would pursue the matter of him in Luowei City. This would damage the Lan family's reputation, and could be considered a capital offense. Moreover, he couldn't use the people from the Lan family, so he had to use the people he had painstakingly nurtured over the years. This was a path that Lan Kangmang had given himself. He was willing to bet everything he had. If he succeeded, his future was destined to be glorious. If he failed, everything would come to an end. This was a gamble with no way out. There was no other choice. He left the room and went to the city lord's manor. He wanted to find out more about the other party and find a way. After entering the city lord's mansion, he found that the atmosphere here was a little strange, as if there was a murderous aura everywhere. Lan Haosho was somewhat puzzled. When he entered the hall, he saw that Luo Haishan's expression was extremely ugly. When he looked at him, there was even hostility in his eyes. Luo Long coldly snorted. "What happened?" Lan Haosho asked curiously. Luo Haishan gestured for Luo Long to leave first. After the other party left, Luo Haishan lowered his voice and said, "Brother Lan, do you know about the bloodbath at Garuda Mountain? Didn't I tell you yesterday? Why? Have you found the culprit?" Lan Haosho asked in confusion. "It's the direct descendant of the Lan family who lives in your inn." Luo Haishan coldly said, "He's asking about my son, not to spar, but to kill my son." "What?" Lan Haosho's expression changed. Clearly, he did not expect this. However, immediately after, he was overjoyed. The matter that had been troubling him for the entire night had now taken a turn for the better. Why did they do that? Although he was overjoyed, Lan Haosho did not show it. "I'm not sure. It seems like they met by accident and both parties fought, Luo Haishan said. Where did the news come from, City Lord? Is it reliable? A mysterious person left it behind. Whether it's reliable or not, the news is definitely true. City Lord, what do you plan to do? Luo Haishan's expression became gloomy. The Lan family actually dares to attack us. They've gone too far. Naturally, I can't watch my son be killed. If there's no other way, I'll go to the sacred mountain to ask for help and fight them to the death. Sensing Luo Haishan's killing intent, Lan Haosho pondered for a moment before saying, Brother Luo, there's no need to be so agitated. Perhaps this matter is not as big as we think. Luo Haishan looked at Lan Haosho in confusion. Lan Haosho gently raised his hand and shot out an energy light that isolated probing. He said, if we make those people disappear from Luowei City, wouldn't everything be solved? Luo Haishan's pupils shrank. He said, the Lan family will definitely investigate the disappearance of the Lan family's people in Luowei City. When the time comes, it will still be a battle to the death. Lan Haosho pondered for a moment before saying, I'll think of a way to ensure that no one from the family will blame us. However, does Brother Luo have the guts to make a move? Luo Haishan looked at Lan Haosho and did not speak. Lan Haosho said, don't worry. This is not a test. You and I have worked together for many years. Don't you trust me? Furthermore, this matter involves our interests. Once the matter outside of Galwa's mountain is exposed, I'll be done for. Therefore, you don't have to be wary of me. You and I are on the same side now. Lan Haosho's words were extremely sincere. Luo Haishan naturally believed him. He said indifferently, as long as our Luo family is not implicated, I will definitely kill that little thief. With this promise, Lan Haosho's mood became much better. When he left the city lord's mansion, he felt that his footsteps had become lighter. On the same day, he gave Lan Kangmang an answer. Lan Kangmang did not expect that Lan Rui would do such a thing. He was very satisfied. Next, it was time to discuss countermeasures and how to make a move. They could also ensure that no one would be implicated after the matter was over. This matter must be foolproof. Tell the Luo family not to hold back. They must use their full strength when making a move. With the previous example, Lan Kangmang had to be very careful. Because if he made a mistake, the branch of his family would be consigned to eternal damnation. Ever since that day when he was drunk, Zichen did not go to the noodle house again. He had been cultivating in his room. During this period, Lan Hongyi came to urge Zichen several times. She wanted him to come up with a plan. After all, they had already taken the item. They could not just leave things be. Although Yi Yuan did not urge her, Lan Hongyi felt very sad when she thought about how he had lost all his family members. She wanted to help him take revenge as soon as possible. But Zichen's answer was to wait. Or to cultivate. At the same time, he also forbade the three girls from going out on the streets. It could be considered as a forced cultivation. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng did not complain. Lan Hongyi resisted several times, but it was to no avail. She could only accept her fate and start cultivating. As for Lan Rui, he had been a little worried recently. It had been so long. The soul weapon he wanted should have arrived long ago. Why was it still not here? Could it be that something went wrong? Before Zichen had a plan, Lan Haosho had already come up with a countermeasure. On this day, Lan Haosho hurriedly came to inform Lan Rui that the Lan family's team had been ambushed. This team was escorting goods on the surface, but they were secretly escorting the soul weapon he needed. When Lan Rui heard the news, his expression changed. A soul weapon was stolen. This was a big deal. At this time, Zichen opened his eyes. What should come will come. It's time to go. Chapter 3792. The few of them had already made their preparations and were ready to go. Zichen looked at Yi Yuan and said, You can stay in the inn. We'll be back soon. Yi Yuan shook his head and said, I'll be scared if I stay here alone. Zichen nodded, All right then. Noah, you bring him along. The group of 7 people walked out of the inn. Lan Haosho was already waiting outside. His expression appeared very anxious. This was Zi Chen's first time seeing the person in charge of Luo Wei City who gave a false information. Young master, actually, I can send people to receive this matter. Coming close, Lan Haoshuo lowered his voice and said. Lang Rui shook his head and said, let's go take a look. After all, it's not an ordinary thing. The soul weapons given to Lang Rui and Lan Hongyi naturally would not be ordinary goods. Then let's go together. No need. Lan Haoshuo waved his hand. A person walked out from the shadows. He was the guide this time. Following that, the group left Luo Wei City and flew towards the south. The Lan family's caravan being ambushed was a very small probability thing. But it was not like it had never happened before in history. As they advanced, Lang Rui discovered that the group of people had already left the main road and flew towards a remote forest. He frowned slightly and asked, the escort mission isn't on the main road? The person leading the way said respectfully, it was originally on the main road. But after the battle broke out, we entered the forest to deal with the enemy. This explanation was also reasonable. Lang Rui nodded his head. Zi Chen did not speak. At this moment, his essence, energy, and spirit were all in peak condition, ready to participate in a large-scale battle at any time. Going deep into the forest, the more they walked, the more remote they became. Just as the doubts in Lang Rui's heart increased, they finally saw the team that was ambushed. Only a mere 2 people were fighting. One of them was at the Soul Void realm, and the other was an existence below the Soul Void realm. Scram! Lang Rui roared angrily. His figure flew forward swiftly, like a bolt of lightning, forcefully entering the battlefield. Boom! Accompanied by a powerful surge of energy, air waves rolled and scattered in all directions. Those enemies were sent flying one after another. There was fear in their eyes. They didn't expect such a powerful ally to come. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Lan Rui's eyes were filled with a cold killing intent. A ripple of light spread out from his body and flew into the distance. Any existence that came into contact with these ripples of light had a confused look in their eyes. A ray of light swept past their bodies. Puff, puff, puff. Blood splattered everywhere, and the stench of blood filled the air. Those existences whose souls were affected died one by one. At the back, a soul corporeal realm cultivator in charge of holding the fort immediately widened his eyes in disbelief. He was originally indifferent, but at this moment, he looked ahead. After seeing that his subordinates were killed in an instant, fear grew in his heart, and he turned around to flee. Suddenly, he saw a beautiful woman in front of him. He was slightly taken aback. Then, he saw the beautiful woman raise the large sword in her hand and slash downward. Countless rays of blue light were released from the large sword. A powerful pressure pressed down on the soul reality realm expert's heart. It was like a huge wave crashing down on him, making him feel a little suffocated. Faced with this life and death pressure, the soul reality realm expert shouted loudly. The soul power around him began to surge and spread out like waves. The pressure that made him feel uneasy immediately disappeared. Then, he punched out. A dazzling fist light erupted from the fist. It was just as terrifying. After punching out, the soul reality realm expert's heart calmed down a little. Even if this girl of unknown origin was powerful, he wasn't much weaker. When the 2 attacks collided, a huge tremor sounded. The soul reality realm expert only felt a terrifying force sweep over and instantly extinguish his fist light. In the next moment, a huge force shook, and he coughed out blood and flew backward. With just one strike, the soul reality realm expert was defeated. The blue light around Lan Hongyi flashed again, revealing an ethereal figure as she chased after him. The second strike seriously injured the soul reality realm expert. The soul reality realm expert who thought that he was on par with Lan Hongyi had eyes filled with fear. Lan Hongyi's third strike arrived. The large sword fell from above with a mighty aura. The soul reality realm expert resisted with all his might, but in the end, he let out a miserable cry. 3 strikes and he was dead. At this moment, the battle on the other side had also ended. All the existences who came to offend the enemy were killed. After surviving the calamity, the 2 survivors' faces were filled with joy. The soul reality realm expert said respectfully to Lan Hongyi, Thank you for saving us, sir. Fortunately, we didn't let you down. The soul weapon is still here. Please check it. The soul reality realm expert took out 2 soul weapons. One was a blue sword. Zichen had seen it with his own eyes. Back then, in the Lan family's treasury, he wanted to take it. In the end, the other party was unwilling and disappeared on his own. He didn't expect that the Lan family would actually send this weapon over this time. The other was a battle armor. It seemed to be made of countless colorful feathers. It was magnificent. This was also the famous soul weapon of the Lan family. It was called the Rainbow Feather Coat. Its defense was astonishing. According to the contribution points that the 2 of them had left in the family, it shouldn't be enough to exchange for these 2 weapons. Looks like that news worked. Lan Hongyi thought to himself and reached out to take the soul weapon. Right at this moment, a faint voice suddenly sounded out, "How do you know that the soul weapon is for him?" Hearing this voice, Lan Hongyi was slightly taken aback. His outstretched hand stopped. Zichen walked forward and said with a smile, "What if it's for me?" That soul reality realm clearly did not expect that such a scene would actually occur. His expression changed slightly and he said, "Of course it's for His Excellency. Who do you think you are?" Zichen did not get angry in the slightest and continued, "How many of you came this time?" "What do you mean?" The other party's eyes clearly had vigilance. "Such a precious thing and you didn't even send out a soul reality realm. Clearly, you don't want people to know about this. Since it's a secret, why do you, a soul reality realm, know what's being escorted?" Zichen's eyes gradually turned cold. Even if it's acting, it should be more realistic, right? Why? Could it be that you guys can't even bear to sacrifice a soul reality realm? That soul reality realm expert's expression changed drastically, subconsciously wanting to retreat. Suddenly, a hint of confusion appeared in his eyes. Lan Hongyi made his move. A beam of light flashed across the other party's body. Without the slightest hesitation, killing decisively. As for that existence that was still alive, he had a look of horror. He was scared out of his wits because he did not know at all. Whoosh! A sharp howl suddenly sounded out. A cold light headed straight for Lan Hongyi. Lan Hongyi's figure flashed, avoiding this attack. Pew walk. This attack closed in, landing on another person's body, instantly piercing through. Chapter 3793. Lan Rui's figure flew back. After dodging the sneak attack, his expression gradually turned ugly when he saw the dead existence. The escorting soul weapon fell to the ground, but he did not look at it again. Clearly, this was a trap. A trap targeted at them. Sounds came from both sides. Someone flew over from afar. There were many figures standing in the air. There were dozens of people. The weakest of those who could fly were at the Soul Void realm. Lan Rui raised his head and looked at the crowd. His eyes gradually turned cold. What's going on? Noah was slightly stunned and protected Yi Yuan behind him. Zichen glanced at the expressionless Yi Yuan, then walked forward. Shan Ya and the others followed. The encirclement began to shrink. Zichen looked into the sky, his gaze sweeping past one existence after another. This time, the opponent had clearly put in a lot of effort. They had sent over 20 Soul Void realm experts. Killing intent surged in these people's eyes, but they did not immediately attack. They seemed to be waiting for something. "You're the one who wants to kill me?" A faint voice sounded. Another person appeared in the sky. This time, it was a young man. His face was slightly pale, and there was a hint of cruelty in his eyes. "You bathed my Mount Garuda in blood and stole my things. Now you want to kill me, right? You're Luo Long?" Lan Rui stared at him. "Who else?" The young man descended from the sky, killing intent surging in his eyes. "Today, none of you will live." However, when his gaze swept past the 3 women, his eyes lit up. "I didn't expect that there would be so few of you, but the quality of the women beside you is so high. I take back what I said earlier. The 3 of you will die. I'll keep these 3 beauties for myself to enjoy." Luo Long pointed at the child Yi Yuan and said, "This half of you will die too." The ambush this time was out of everyone's expectations. At this moment, Everyone's expressions were somewhat nervous. Zichen looked at Luo Long and said, "Who else are you hiding? Hurry up and come out." Luo Long said disdainfully, "Our people are enough to kill 3.5 of you." Zichen also responded with a disdainful sneer, "If there were no human soul realm experts backing you up, even if we lent you a few more guts, you wouldn't dare to scheme against us." "What did you say?" Luo Long's eyes narrowed as boundless killing intent surged within them. Zichen did not pay any more attention to the other party. Instead, he looked into the distance and said, "It's already very shameless for a human soul to team up with a bunch of people. Why aren't all of you showing yourselves now? Could it be that you want to hide in the dark and launch a sneak attack?" Zichen's words were very blunt. Obviously, he had no intention of showing any mercy. "You have a sharp tongue, but I wonder how strong you are." A calm voice sounded from behind, and another person walked out. This was a middle-aged man called Zhu Feiming. He had a great reputation in Luowei City and could be considered an existence second only to the city lord. Unfortunately, Zichen's group did not recognize him. "Just you?" Zichen looked at him. Zhu Feiming said, "What else? Since you're able to ambush us here, you're naturally aware of our methods. If it's really you, a mere human soul, how could you have the guts to stand before us?" Zichen looked at the forest ahead and said disdainfully, "It's not like you're a dog. Do you have to bark one by one before you come out?" Upon hearing Zichen's words, Yi Yuan's youthful expression changed. With so many Soul True Realm experts and a human soul, Zichen should be under a lot of pressure, but at this moment, his expression was so relaxed. In contrast, the ones who were nervous were those who had an absolute advantage in numbers. Another person appeared in the dark. This time, the human soul was somewhat similar to Luo Long. It should be his father. The current city lord of Luowei City, Luo Haishan. "Young man, your cultivation realm is not worthy of your current tone," Luo Haishan said indifferently. Zichen's lips curled into a mocking smile. "If you were at the same cultivation realm as me, you would have peed your pants standing in front of me." Zichen's words were harsh, but of course, they were also the truth. It was just that the two human soul cultivators might not be able to accept it. "Who do you think you are to dare speak to my father like that? There's no need for anyone else to do anything. I can kill all of you." Luo Long extended his finger and pointed at Long Rui. "I heard you're a direct descendant of the Lan family. Let me see what you're capable of. The 3.5 of you will start with you." He only knew that Long Rui was a direct descendant of the Lan family. He didn't know that Long Rui was the future successor of the Lan family. Lan Haoshou didn't tell them the truth, otherwise, they would have to think about it carefully. The two human souls had a mocking expression. They didn't immediately attack because they wanted Luo Long to hone his skills here. They also mistakenly believed that Long Rui was the strongest in the group. Long Rui glanced at Zichen. The latter nodded slightly, and Long Rui walked forward. At this moment, on a mountain peak more than 5 kilometers away, Lan Kangmang couldn't help but frown. The battle situation was somewhat different from what he had expected. Under his arrangements, they were able to kill Long Rui's group with lightning speed. Now, Luo Long actually wanted to sharpen his sword. However, this was only a small interlude that wouldn't affect the final result, so he didn't care. The encirclement expanded to the back, leaving enough space for Luo Long to fight. Luo Long looked at Long Rui, who was walking forward, with a cold smile on his face. Direct descendant of the Lan family, today, Long Rui gently tapped his forehead. A blue ripple surged out and enveloped the surroundings. Luo Long's expression froze. His eyes were blank. This was the effect of his soul being affected. Swish. Long Rui quickly rushed forward as a cold light flickered in his eyes. Luo Long's soul was affected. His body was motionless, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Zichen, who was watching the battle, noticed that there seemed to be an extremely faint light flashing on Luo Long's fingertip. It was a ring. The light seemed like a normal reflection. However, Zichen had a bad feeling in his heart. He blurted out, "Retreat." It was already too late. As he spoke, Long Rui had already charged before Luo Long. A light flew out from his fingertip and went straight for Luo Long's neck. At this moment, Luo Long, whose expression froze, revealed a mocking smile. At the same time, a sharp light, which he had already prepared, pierced towards Lang Rui's chest. It was a short spear. It was as agile as a spirit snake. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Lang Rui changed from attacking to defending. His body suddenly stopped and a blue protective light barrier appeared around him. The short spear moved forward. A strong aura surged at the tip of the spear. With a pa sound, Lang Rui's protective light barrier shattered. Blood splattered everywhere. Lang Rui retreated several meters away. There was a bloody wound on his shoulder. His face was pale and there was fear in his eyes. If he did not have a strange feeling earlier and retreated early, there would be a large hole in his body. Trying to run? Luo Long smiled coldly. He pointed the short spear in his hand and went straight for Lang Rui's forehead. Lang Rui snorted coldly. Even if he did not use illusions, he was still strong enough. Just as the two attacks were about to collide, a light suddenly flew out from in front of Luo Long. It was a green python with two horns on its head. It bit towards Lang Rui, who was close by. This was a sudden change that caught him off guard. Chapter 3794. Lang Rui, who was already prepared to fight Luo Long with all his strength, did not expect his opponent to have such a move. Caught off guard, the python had already closed in. With a loud bang, a powerful shockwave spread out. The shockwave rolled into the distance, bringing with it a lot of smoke and dust. Lang Rui's body retreated another 30 meters. This time, there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Although he had not lost, he had suffered a hidden loss and was slightly injured. The python turned back and wrapped around Luo Long's waist. Luo Long held the short spear in his hand and said disdainfully, "This is the strength of the Lan family's direct descendant. It's only SOSO. If it wasn't for your shameless schemes, how could Lang Rui lose to you?" Lan Hongyi said angrily. "Schemes?" Luo Long snorted and said, "This is called strength, okay? Beauty, don't be anxious. After I kill them, I'll find a warm place to properly discuss this with you." "Bah. You think you're worthy?" Lan Hongyi's expression was disdainful. "You'll know soon enough whether I'm worthy or not." Luo Long held the spear and stepped forward. The aura of the soul realm erupted from his body. The python wrapped around his waist had a cold gaze. Poison dragon slash. A sharp attack appeared from the tip of the spear. It was like a dragon as it headed straight for Lang Rui. Lang Rui's body flickered with blue light. He, who had suffered a hidden loss earlier, knew very well that his opponent had come prepared and wanted to suppress him. Therefore, it was fine if he did not make a move, but if he did, he had to use his full strength. Lan Ling. A complicated pattern appeared behind Lang Rui. Blue feathers flew out from the pattern. The feathers were not soft at all. They were like arrows as they shot forward, bringing with them whistling sounds. They contained terrifying power. As the future successor of the Lan family, Lang Rui's combat strength was not to be underestimated. Even without his illusion techniques, he was still the powerful Lang Rui. Peng! 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 The blue feathers exploded in front of him like blooming fireworks. Luo Long's body kept retreating. The python that was waiting for an opportunity to attack was also unable to get close. Lang Rui formed a seal with both hands. Blue ripples that were like ripples on the surface of water constantly surged in the surroundings. The surrounding space was like boiling water. It was as if even vision was affected. Once again, confusion appeared in Luo Long's eyes. However, just as his consciousness started to hallucinate, the ring on his finger released a ray of light. This was something that Luo Haishan had specially prepared for him before coming here. It was for the sake of fighting against Lan Rui. For this, he had spent a lot of blue crystal coins. Just as he regained consciousness, Lan Rui's attack had already arrived in front of him. With a loud boom, Luo Long's body slid backwards. Lan Rui's eyes were filled with regret. If it wasn't for that special ring, Luo Long, who had the title of Luo Wei City's #1 true soul stage expert, would have already died. His face was a little pale. These few moves had consumed a lot of energy for him. Luo Long retreated several meters. Even though he was fully prepared, he was still beaten back by his opponent. This made his expression turn ugly. "You're courting death." The short spear in his hand began to vibrate, and a strange light appeared in the eyes of the python at his waist. Lan Rui clenched his fists tightly. If he had the folding fan, he would have been able to relax a little. As for the soul weapon not far away, he did not even glance at it. "Let me do it." Seeing that the battle had begun again, Zichen's voice suddenly rang out, "Save your strength to deal with the others." Lan Rui turned his head to look at Zichen and nodded his head. Even though he was somewhat unwilling in his heart, he still knew the big picture. In a situation where he was clearly being targeted by Luo Long, it would be difficult for him to kill his opponent. Rather than wasting his energy fighting Luo Long, he might as well save his strength for the next battle. After all, there were still many enemies waiting for him to kill. Seeing Lan Rui retreat, a strange light flashed across Luo Long's eyes. Earlier, he had noticed that Zichen's words were extremely harsh, but he did not pay much attention to it. But now, he actually made the strongest direct descendant of the Lan family retreat with a single sentence. Who exactly was he? At this moment, the others also had doubts in their hearts. This also included Lan Kangmang, who was watching this scene from afar. In his plan, Lan Rui was the strongest. As long as he dealt with Lan Rui, the others were nothing to fear. But now, Lan Rui actually listened to the words of an unremarkable brat. This was too suspicious. "I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you're acting mysterious or not. How dare you provoke me? You're courting death." Seeing Zichen coming towards him, Luo Long's eyes flickered with murderous intent. "Kill him." The python coiled around his waist immediately flew towards Zichen like a bolt of lightning. Zichen, who was walking forward, did not stop. His expression did not change much as he looked at the dangerous light that the python had turned into. The only thing that changed was his hand. With a flash of brilliance, a long staff with runes on its surface appeared. In the next moment, the long staff lit up with a radiance. Within that radiance, there were occasional flashes of lightning. He raised the long staff. Although his movements were not fast, he completed this action before the python arrived. His footsteps came to a stop. A sharp light suddenly appeared in his calm eyes. He raised the long staff and smashed it down. An ear-piercing whistling sound was heard in the air, as if some kind of object was being torn apart. It made people feel very uncomfortable. Then, the rumbling sound of thunder boomed. It was as deafening as the thunder from the ninth heaven. The long staff hit the python's head firmly, causing the python that had turned into a ray of light to reveal its true body. Its body, which was in the air, sank a few feet into the ground. Its body was still in the air, and the light around it was fluctuating. Zichen raised the long staff in his hand again and smashed it down. It brought out countless after-images. The second thunderous roar sounded. A strong wave of air spread out in all directions like a spreading storm. The python's body continued to fall. Then, the third thunderous roar sounded. The injury was even more extensive. Countless lightning surged and shot in all directions. The glaring light illuminated the surroundings. After the thunderous roar, another roar came from the ground. The python's body finally smashed into the soil, leaving a deep and clear mark. 3 strikes. It was only 3 strikes. Luo Long's powerful python sank into the ground. It was unknown whether it was dead or alive. The surrounding empty soul and real soul existences all changed their expressions greatly. They were all shocked. They were just watching the battle. After hearing the 3 thunderous roars, their minds became unstable. It was hard to imagine what would happen if the 3 strikes landed on them. The expressions of the 2 human soul realm experts who were watching the show also changed. One of them looked at Luo Haishan. With a serious expression, Luo Haishan slowly shook his head, indicating that there was no need to intervene. Obviously, he still had confidence in Luo Long. Moreover, with them watching from the side, there should not be any accidents. However, after Zichen's 4th strike, Luo Haishan could no longer remain calm. Chapter 3795. The 3rd strike had caused the serpent's fate to be unknown. The fourth strike had sent Luo Long flying. The power Zi Chen had displayed was too terrifying. The people who were watching the battle felt their scalps go numb. Luo Long had the title of the strongest in Luowei City, but he had never expected that he would not be able to resist at all in front of this young man who was also in the Soul Realm. This was the difference between them. One was the strongest in Luowei City, while the other was invincible in the same realm. It was clear at a glance. The expressions of the two human Soul Realm cultivators changed once again. Luo Haishan's expression relaxed as he said, "It's good to let him suffer a little. This way, he will be able to take fewer detours in his future path of growth." Although he said that, Luo Haishan's eyes were fixed on the battlefield, not allowing any accidents to happen. "What should we do?" On the other side, Lan Hongyi looked at Lung Rui. At this moment, she had no idea what to do. Lung Rui said, "Let's wait and see. Zi Chen might have a way." He was extremely depressed. He had never expected to be ambushed in such a place. Luo Long crashed into the distance. After flipping over, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and madness appeared in his eyes. Poison Dragon Slash. A powerful attack was displayed. It was as if a serpent dragon had flown out from the short spear. A powerful pressure swept through the surroundings. Countless fallen leaves danced wildly, blocking one's vision. Facing this attack, Zi Chen still raised his staff and smashed it down. Lightning coiled around the staff, releasing a dazzling light. Thunder boomed once again, shattering all the attacks in front of him. Luo Long retreated once again, and the weapon in his hand almost fell out of his hand. Zi Chen tapped his foot, and dirt and sand flew up from under his feet. His figure disappeared from where he stood. In the next moment, he was in front of Luo Long, and the staff in his hand descended once again. This weapon from the human soul realm was becoming more and more comfortable with him. Now that he was using it in battle, it seemed to contain techniques that he had never discovered. Thunder boomed, and thunder surged. At this moment, the expressions of all the spectators changed. In their hearts, the invincible young master Luo Long was being chased and beaten with a staff. This scene looked like a village woman fighting. There was no technique involved at all. However, at this moment, everyone knew how powerful the attacks that landed on young master Luo Long's body were. Once one of them entered the arena, it would be a matter of a few stick strikes to end the battle. Too powerful. During this period of time, no matter what kind of attack young master Luo Long displayed, the other party would always disperse it with a single strike of his staff. Blood continued to flow from the corner of Luo Long's mouth as his eyes grew crazier. He originally thought that the direct descendant of the Lan family was the strongest in this team, so he made some preparations to use the other party to hone his skills. He didn't expect that this guy who came from nowhere would be able to suppress him at this moment. Scram! He let out a furious roar as his soul force swirled around him. He barely managed to dodge Zi Chen's attack and quickly put some distance between the two of them. At this moment, his arms were red and swollen, and his hair was disheveled. He cut an exceptionally sorry figure. "Originally, I had a move to deal with the direct descendant of the Lan family. Since you're so eager to die, then this young master will fulfill your wish." Luo Long formed hand seals with his hands and muttered something under his breath. A strange power spread out in all directions. The python that Zi Chen had struck into the ground and whose fate was unknown suddenly flew out from the ground. This time, it didn't attack Zi Chen. Instead, it flew towards Luo Long and entered his body. In the next moment, the two merged into one. Some fine scales grew on Luo Long's body and two horns grew on his head. The Soul True Realm aura that surged around him became even stronger at this moment, as if he was infinitely close to the human soul realm. After fusing with the python, Luo Long turned into a dragon man. His eyes flashed with a brutal light. However, his gaze quickly moved away from Zi Chen and landed on the three women. He couldn't move his eyes away anymore. His eyes were filled with greed and lust. Now is not the time to enjoy yourself. As long as you kill these people, you'll definitely benefit from it. Moreover, these three high-quality women can be enjoyed by you. Luo Long said. It sounded like he was talking to himself, but he was actually talking to the python. It seems like you've been harming those women in this state all these years. Zichen gripped the staff in his hand tightly and his eyes turned cold. Cut the crap. Die. Python's strength. The soul power on the surface of Luo Long's body changed. It was a change in essence. His aura was released like a terrifying storm that swept out. Soul power surged around Zichen's body. Within that pure black soul power, streaks of dazzling lightning would occasionally flash. Luo Long charged forward like a flood dragon. Vaguely, Zichen heard a high-pitched dragon's roar. When the dragon's roar entered his sea of consciousness, it seemed to turn into a strange attack that affected his mind. Zichen snorted coldly. His soul power surged and lightning flashed. When he destroyed all the negative emotions, he raised the staff in his hand again. This time, it was no longer a pure attack, but a soul technique. Soul shock technique. With a staff, the power was naturally stronger. Luo Long's attack was destroyed in an instant. The staff landed on his head, forming a shockwave that caused Luo Long's body to shake at a high frequency. However, after fusing with the python, his physical body was greatly strengthened. Now that he was hit by Zichen, his life was not in danger. He resisted the attack head-on. Light flowed on his hands, turning into two dragon claws that grabbed at Zichen. Zichen retracted the staff in his hand and struck to the left and right. Two after-images flashed, accompanied by a sonorous sound, and Luo Long's dragon claws were knocked away. Zichen's staff fell again, this time to destroy the soul. A force that could destroy the soul rushed into Luo Long's chest. Luo Long's surging vitality began to dissipate. A trace of fear appeared in his heart, and he subconsciously retreated. The opponent's attack was too strange. Zichen raised the staff again and activated it. This time, a part of the patterns on the staff suddenly lit up. Buzz. The staff began to tremble slightly. It was as if a sealed power had suddenly been released. Zichen was actually unable to control it. Fortunately, Zichen had already refined it, so the staff did not break free. Instead, it returned the power to Zichen. The staff fell again, aiming for Luo Long's face. Soul shock again. Because the staff vibrated at a high frequency, it was very suitable for this move. The staff fell, leaving a white mark in the air, as if it was going to tear the space apart. This attack was unstoppable. Luo Haishan's expression changed when he saw this. He cried out, "This is a weapon from the sacred mountain." As for the other human soul realm expert, he immediately dashed forward when he sensed that something was wrong. With Luo Long's strength, he could not block this attack. However, the speed of the staff's fall was beyond his expectations. It fell on his head. Boom! A powerful force shook, and Luo Long's body flew backward. In front of him, the short spear was shattered into several pieces and fell to the ground. At the crucial moment, he activated his soul weapon and blocked this fatal attack. However, his soul weapon was shattered. After landing, he, who had fused with the python, separated from it again. At this moment, the python was on the verge of death. After the soul weapon was shattered, most of the power of Zichen's staff was absorbed by the python. At this moment, Luo Long no longer had the pride he had in the past. His heart was filled with shock and fear. At the same time, a thought appeared in his mind. This was what it meant to be unrivaled. Die. Zhu Feiming, a human soul realm expert, arrived. A powerful attack came like a tide. Facing this attack, Zichen raised his staff to meet it. Chapter 3796. The staff in Zichen's hand had suddenly become stronger. It was so strong that it was terrifying. It had even exceeded Zichen's expectations. No one could react in time. Luo Long had escaped death, but his essence, energy, and spirit had been completely defeated. With his disheveled hair, he had been completely defeated. Before the crowd could be shocked by Zichen's strength, Zhu Feiming, who had originally wanted to save Luo Long, could only kill Zichen after being too late. The power of the human soul realm gathered in his palm. As a famous expert of Luowei City, if not for the City Lord's personal invitation, he would not have bothered to make a move against a mere soul realm expert. But now that he had chosen to make a move, he would use his full strength. It was a sure kill. Seeing Zi Chen in danger, Shan Huaye's pretty face revealed a worried expression, but it was already too late to help. The others were the same. They could only look forward anxiously. Zi Chen's expression did not change as he blocked with the staff in his hand. The patterns on the staff were activated once again. They were not completely lit up, but the feedback gave Zi Chen a strong feeling, making Zi Chen completely confident that he could block the palm. Since he could block this attack, then it was naturally time to counterattack. Looking at the incoming palm print, his eyes revealed a cold killing intent. This was killing intent towards a human soul realm expert. Zhu Feiming, who was close by and could feel the killing intent, was somewhat puzzled. In this kind of situation, shouldn't a soul realm expert like you feel fear? The palm landed on the staff, and an infinite light bloomed from it. The surrounding space began to distort, and the forest was already filled with sand and stones, wreaking havoc like a storm. Zi Chen's body quickly slid back, leaving 2 deep marks on the ground. He retreated 15 meters and stabilized his body, but the price was blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. The surroundings were filled with cries of alarm. Luo Long also looked in front of him in disbelief. The current Zi Chen gave him the feeling of a monster. Luo Haishan smiled. He was extremely excited, and wanted nothing more than to lose his composure and shout a few words to the sky. If he had any doubts before, he was now certain that the black staff in Zi Chen's hand was a weapon from the sacred mountain. The weapons there had another name, Saint Soul weapons. Only a Saint Soul weapon from the sacred mountain could withstand the attack of a human soul realm expert. Although he did not know why a mere soul true realm cultivator would have a weapon from the sacred mountain, he was very happy that this sacred soul weapon would soon change its name. From now on, his surname is Luo. Of course, the power he could unleash was much greater than when he was in Zi Chen's hands. The more Luo Haishan looked at them, the more he liked them. Even the way he looked at Zi Chen had become more pleasing to the eye. He thought to himself that he had to leave a complete corpse for this child who looked about the same age as his own son. At this time, Zi Chen also laughed, and he laughed quite happily. Zhu Feiming coldly said, "You blocked my attack and you're so happy." "Oh, that's right. You're only at the Soul True realm after all. You should be proud of yourself for being able to block my attack." The smile on Zi Chen's face spread once again, appearing extremely happy. "Of course I'm happy, because I used my actions to tell you that if it weren't for the fact that you had more people, how could you have the guts to ambush us?" Then, Zi Chen added, "Hurry up and get your human soul realm experts hiding in the dark to come out. Otherwise, I'll counterattack." Zhu Feiming stared at Zi Chen. "Are you joking? Or are you talking nonsense before your death? What do you think?" Zi Chen laughed mockingly, then pointed to the sky and said, "Look at what that is." Zhu Feiming said disdainfully, "This trick is useless against me." Cries of alarm sounded from all around, and the sound waves were extremely loud. Zhu Feiming had a bad feeling and looked up at the sky. He happened to see the ghost spirit saint talisman falling. The little ghosts looked exceptionally ferocious and terrifying. Scram! Zhu Feiming's expression changed slightly. He was somewhat surprised because he did not notice when the other party did this. He snorted coldly. His soul power soared into the sky, transforming into a sharp blade that slashed into the air. Kai! Many ghosts were pierced through, but they did not receive any damage. They fell intact and entered Zhu Feiming's mind. "Now is the time. Kill." Zi Chen's lips curled into a smile as he stared at the scene before him. His cold voice rang out. Everyone who had been prepared for this moment immediately attacked. Beside Lan Jiu Meng, a sword light appeared and flew forward, instantly piercing through the body of a Soul True Realm expert. This was her weapon. She had found it in the Lan family's treasure vault previously. Lan Jiu Meng was getting more and more used to it. Furthermore, last time, this soul weapon even took the initiative to save its master. It was very rare. Shan Huaye flashed forward. Her body flowed with a unique luster as she arrived in front of a Soul True Realm expert. Seeing Shan Huaye's arrival, this Soul True Realm expert smiled coldly. Clearly, he did not think that this beautiful woman would have the combat strength to threaten him. His body lit up, and his soul power surged. At this moment, he saw the woman in front of him disappear with a flash. The Soul True Realm expert was slightly stunned, but then he felt his strength begin to fade away. He lowered his head and saw that the soul light on his body had disappeared. At the same time, there was an additional mark on his body. Just as he was slightly stunned, his body was separated from the mark into two parts. His life force was extinguished. After killing a Soul True Realm expert, Shan Ya rushed towards the second enemy. Facing the enemy, she was decisive in killing. This Soul True Realm expert had already reacted. He threw a palm forward. The power contained in the palm print was like a huge wave that came head-on. Shan Ya stretched out two fingers and pointed her sword forward. A ray of light shot out. The light from her fingertip was like a peerless divine weapon that could cut through the waves. In an instant, the energy wave disappeared, and the palm print dissipated. The power that shot out from Shan Ya's fingertip moved forward and swept past the opponent's body. The second Soul True Realm expert died. Ever since she found her own strength in the Soul Void realm, Shan Ya had displayed the combat strength that a heaven-blessed person should have. Other than being a great opportunity for others to advance, her existence itself was extremely extraordinary. Shan Ya called her attribute nihility. It was a power that almost didn't exist, but it could destroy all the power in the world. In other words, her power was the nemesis of all soul power in this world. Noah and Lan Hongyi also attacked. One of them used the power of wind, while the other used the Lan family's soul technique. They did not hold back at all. When they attacked, there were casualties in the Soul True realm. Chapter 3797. Luo Haishan was still watching the battle from the side and did not make a move, even if he was a little surprised by the other party's methods. Actually, before coming, he already knew of the battle results of these people, but he did not believe it at all. It was just 6 people, how could they kill 2 human soul realms? Something must have happened. Therefore, even if he saw Zhu Feiming get hit, he did not care. Knowing Zhu Feiming's strength, he knew that the other party would soon destroy this small accident and kill everyone in front. The idea was beautiful, but what Luo Haishan really saw was Zhu Feiming, who immediately sat down after being hit. Like an old monk in meditation, he did not move at all. His expression was slightly stunned, not understanding what was going on. Right at this moment, a ripple surged out, like a ripple on the surface of a lake. The ripple rippled, enveloping the surroundings. In the eyes of those soul void realms, a look of confusion appeared. Seeing the battle between Lan Rui and Luo Long, even though they were already prepared, without the support of a special soul weapon, no one could block Lan Rui's illusion. This was something that Zi Chen had experienced deeply. In the past, Lan Rui beat him until he could not fight back, let alone these people. Therefore, those soul void realms were all dead. In the instant that Luo Haishan was stunned, they all died. There were not many of those 20 over soul void realms left now. Luo Haishan roared angrily, clearly not expecting that his carelessness would actually cause him to suffer such a huge blow. These people that he brought were all his trusted aides, the foundation of Luo Wei City. Their deaths were a huge loss to Luo Wei City and the Luo family. Luo Long, who was standing in the distance, was also stunned. Having his pride beaten down by Zi Chen, his heart was currently filled with disbelief. In Luo Wei City, he was the #1 soul void realm person, so he naturally had a feeling of being invincible. But now, the soul void realm that he saw, every one of them had combat strength that was not weaker than him, who was invincible. If there was no human soul realm holding down the fort, this battle would have no suspense at all. Now that he recalled his bold words before coming, Luo Long felt very ashamed in his heart. Back then, the words that he said while patting his chest were a little too laughable and childish. At the same time, he also believed what Zi Chen said. If not for the human soul realm holding down the fort, they would not have the guts to ambush him. Die. Luo Haishan flew forward as the powerful aura of the human soul realm gushed out. He was enraged and decided to kill the enemy. Looking at his opponent, Zi Chen couldn't help but sneer. He put away his staff and took out a sacred talisman brush. It was unfathomable. As the brush hovered in the air, soul power surged in his palm. With a slight movement, a stroke fell. In other words, it was a horizontal line. It was just a stroke. A mark appeared in the sky. It was like a line connecting two spaces. It truly existed. The heaven and earth brush flew forward. Luo Haishan's perception was extremely sharp. He made the same choice as that existence back then. From extreme speed to instant stillness, he displayed precise control over his power. His eyes were filled with shock, and a trace of fear appeared in his heart. Was this the power of a sole true realm expert? He felt the threat of death from it. Retreat. Retreat again. Quick retreat. However, that mark always maintained a certain distance from him. He was neither fast nor slow, neither advancing nor retreating. It was as if the two of them were in the same space-time. As long as he paused, that mark would sweep past his body. After sensing this, Luo Haishan made the same action as that human soul realm expert last time. With a hint of fear in his eyes, he began to circulate his strength with all his might, wanting to break free from the seal of this power. Luo Long saw Luo Haishan's sorry state. At this moment, he deeply felt the difference between the two of them. It was as if there was an insurmountable gap between them, completely crushing his mental state. Just as Luo Haishan was about to break free from Zichen's seal, the blue dragon beast suddenly appeared and waved its small claws forward. A ray of light flashed. Kai. Zichen's attack suddenly accelerated and swept past Luo Haishan's body before the other party could break free. Blood splattered as Luo Haishan flew backward. A hint of regret appeared on the pale Zichen's face. He was so close to splitting Luo Haishan into two. Even if he couldn't kill Luo Haishan, he believed that Luo Haishan would only be able to use less than 10% of his strength after being split into two. Zichen raised his head and looked up at the blue dragon beast that had already awakened. His eyes were also filled with regret. In the distance, Yi Yuan's tender face was also filled with shock. He didn't expect Zichen to be so powerful. Kill him. Luo Haishan, who was lying on the ground, stood up and angrily shouted at Zichen. At this moment, he was clutching his abdomen with both hands as blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. One could even see his wriggling intestines at the edges. Although he managed to keep his life, he had lost a lot of his strength and couldn't fight for the time being. Aside from anger, Luo Haishan also felt deep regret. If he had known this would happen, he would have let everyone out earlier. Two people flew out from the forest, both of them in the human soul realm. This time, there were actually 4 human soul realm experts. When Luo Long sensed their auras, his face changed once again because he recognized the two of them. They were his father's sworn brothers. He didn't expect them to come here as well. The two of them had watched the battle from beginning to end and knew how difficult and powerful Zichen was. At this moment, they also quickly went up and tacitly chose to work together. 2 human soul realm experts working together to deal with a soul realm expert. It seemed like a joke, but it was really happening right now. Where did that Zichen come from? Why does he have such powerful strength? On the mountain peak in the distance, Lan Kangmang's eyes were also filled with shock. Fortunately, Luo Haishan had made sufficient preparations. With the 2 human soul realm experts working together, it wasn't difficult to finish this battle. Zichen looked at the 2 people charging forward and took a deep breath. Another stroke was drawn. The soul power in his body was rapidly depleting. He had almost used up all of it. The power of this stroke was like an attack that could cut through space as it flew forward. For the first time, the blue dragon beast left Lan Jiumeng and flew into the sky, waving its claws once again. This time, the body of a human soul realm expert was enveloped. The mark quickly moved forward. Poof! It was completely penetrated. Of the 2 human soul realm experts who charged forward, one of them was split into 2 in midair and his vitality was extinguished. He died just like that. As for the other, he had a look of relief and fear. He didn't turn back and continued forward. Zichen's body was already on the verge of collapse. He had used this inexplicable holy talisman art twice in a row and had consumed a lot of his energy. Everyone was fighting, so they naturally didn't have time to care about him. In order to avoid being killed by such an attack, the human soul realm expert sped up again and arrived in front of Zichen. A palm fell and hit his chest. Light sputtered from his chest, and a terrifying wave of air spread out, bringing with it countless clouds of dust. The ground under Zichen's feet cracked open. Bang! His body flew backward, accompanied by the sound of bones shattering. Chapter 3798. No one in the Soul Realm could stand there and take a blow from a mortal Soul Realm expert and still live. Luo Haishan, who was furious and regretful at the same time, concluded that Zichen was dead. Luo Long thought so too. Even Lan Kangmang, who was watching the battle from afar, came to the same conclusion. Zichen must die. When Shan Yue turned her head and brought her to the battle situation, Zichen had already fallen to the ground. Only the blood he spat out was still falling slowly in the air. She was completely stunned and had even forgotten the existence of her opponent. Be careful. Lan Jiyu Meng's voice sounded. At the same time, she came over and blocked a Soul Realm attack for Shan Yue. Don't be careless. Lan Jiyu Meng reminded her again. However, Shan Yue stood there motionless as if she had lost her soul. Could Zichen, who only had the strength of a Soul Realm cultivator, survive an attack from a human Soul Realm cultivator? Normal people would be dead, right? Lan Hongyi and the others were also very worried about Zichen. However, the enemy had not been dealt with yet. No one dared to be distracted. Otherwise, they would all be wiped out. At this moment, the human Soul Realm cultivator had clearly predicted that Zichen would die without a doubt. Therefore, his gaze had already landed on Lan Rui. This was his next target. Suddenly, he felt a strange power appear in front of him. It was as if a spring breeze had blown past, bringing with it a warm feeling, causing the withered earth to recover and glow with vitality. He was slightly startled and turned his head to look forward. He saw that Zichen, who had fallen to the ground, had actually stood up. The other party's body was surrounded by burning soul power. This power seemed to have an inexplicable attribute, bringing with it a warm spring feeling. Under his feet, a green grass was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The spring feeling was boundless, and vitality spread. More and more grass sprouted around Zichen and grew. This was a recovery technique. The spell technique recorded in the other black jade slip was different from the previous one, but it was of the same grade. Zichen's originally weak life force gradually grew stronger, as if someone had added a handful of dry wood to a bonfire that was about to go out. Looking at Zichen, whose eyes were shining brightly and whose aura was gradually becoming stronger, the human soul's eyes were filled with shock. Luo Haishan was also stunned on the spot. He didn't die even after that. Wasn't that too strange? Could it be an extremely rare healing technique? When Luo Haishan thought of this possibility, he became excited. First, it was the Saint Spirit weapon. Now, it was a powerful recovery technique. This was really a blessing from the heavens. Once he obtained these two things, he believed that the Luo family would be able to grow stronger again. Perhaps, they would even be able to go deeper. What's going on? Seeing Zichen stand up, Lan Kangmang's expression changed and he cried out involuntarily. It's a very rare healing technique. It's specially made for living beings. An old voice sounded from behind Lan Kangmang. You're clearly a descender, but you're actually able to use the soul technique of our world. How surprising. Hearing this old voice, Lan Kangmang wasn't surprised. He turned around and said respectfully, "You're here." In front of Lan Kangmang stood an old man. The old man wore plain clothes and was barefooted. He was very fat and had a big belly. When he smiled, he looked like a Maitreya Buddha. At this moment, he smiled and said, "I've been here for a long time. I just happened to see the previous battle. That young man isn't bad. I want to keep him by my side to observe for a while." Lan Kangmang shook his head and said, "This isn't appropriate. They must die." The old man said, "I'll use my reward to exchange for his life." Lan Kangmang shook his head again and said, "I've already made arrangements for this matter. There's almost no need for Senior to do anything. Of course, if there's a change in the situation, Senior will still have to do something. This is what we've agreed before. We'll use a favor from our ancestor in exchange. There's no need to talk about rewards." The old man said, Isn't your goal to kill the successor of the Lan family? As long as he's dead, you'll naturally get everything. He's just an outsider. Why don't I make one more move and kill the others, leaving only that brat alive? Don't worry, no one will know that he's still alive in my hands. Lan Kangmang said decisively, this matter concerns the future of my bloodline. There's no room for discussion. The old man said helplessly, all right then. Let's do as we agreed. I'm here as half a favor. Once I make a move, it'll be considered complete. After that, we'll be even. Lan Kangmang nodded. The two people who were talking had been paying attention to the battlefield. This was the first time Zichen used the art of resuscitation. The effect was much better than he had imagined. He looked at the human soul who was about to attack Lan Rui and said, "Hey, the battle isn't over yet." In his hand, the art of resuscitation appeared again. His body was enveloped by the art of resuscitation. The tip of the brush began to glow. After the human soul sensed that Zichen wasn't dead, he immediately moved forward, wanting to kill Zichen before he finished writing. Zichen's brush landed. With a buzzing sound, a mark was left behind between heaven and earth. Zichen's face turned pale in an instant. Even a portion of his life force that had been restored had been lost. This reminded Zichen of his lightning controlling art. When he didn't have enough power, he would draw away a portion of his life force to sustain an attack. It was the same for this brush technique. Fortunately, Zichen's art of resuscitation was constantly replenishing his life force, allowing this stroke to be completed smoothly. The human soul's reaction was still a little too late. Therefore, in the eyes of everyone, he seemed to have carried a powerful attack and taken the initiative to collide with this brush technique. His attack split in the middle and dissipated into thin air. His body also split into two and fell to the ground. Another human soul died. This time, it was completely based on Zichen's own strength. Of course, there were also some human souls' miscalculations of their own speed. Zichen's body began to sway. As he had expended too much energy, he didn't even have the slightest bit of strength in his body. Fortunately, the most dangerous enemy had been dealt with. Now, only Luo Haishan was left. Luo Haishan's eyes were filled with deep sorrow. The two dead human souls were not outsiders, but his sworn brothers. Because of a moment of carelessness, he had fallen to such a state. But at this moment, he deeply understood what Zichen meant. Two mere human soul experts were not enough to kill the other party. As for what Luo Long had said about killing everyone by himself, it sounded more like a good joke than anything else. It's your turn. Zichen looked at Luo Haishan. After stabilizing his body, dozens of saint talismans flew out in front of him. This was his method as a saint talisman master, and he began to use it. At the same time, Zichen once again wrote in the sky. He could no longer use that brush technique, but with the last of his strength, he was still able to summon a sky thunder python. At the same time, two saint talismans that could restore soul force were stuck on Zichen's arms. The battle was not over yet, and he needed to recover as soon as possible. The saint talisman exploded in front of him, and a terrifying energy completely drowned Luo Haishan. Boom! The energy vibrated, and Luo Haishan walked out. Even though he was injured, he was still a human soul expert, and would not be easily killed. Chapter 3799. Looking at the lightning falling from the sky, Luo Haishan covered his wound with one hand and waved his other hand. All the lightning exploded in an instant. This was the power of the human soul realm. Even in an injured state, it was still not something a soul realm cultivator could fight against. Then, a shadow fell from the sky. It was the sky thunder python. There was a sharp whistle in the air. Luo Haishan's eyes were cold and his heart was filled with grief. Because of his carelessness, he had suffered heavy losses today. Even if he killed all these people today, the Luo family would still be severely injured. It would probably take some time for them to stabilize. He punched out, and the fist radiance shot up into the sky. With a bang, the sky thunder python was sent flying. Zichen's body quickly retreated. The sacred runes on his arms were constantly pouring power into his body. He raised the brush again. In the sky, a powerful aura appeared again. A black tiger appeared. The tiger roared and joined the battle. Zichen continued to retreat and looked at the battlefield indifferently. From the current situation, the battle was still very advantageous to them. It was only a matter of time before those Soul Realm cultivators died. Next, everyone just needed to work together to fight the injured Luo Haishan. As long as everyone could hold on until he drew another stroke, they would still be the victorious side this time. The dawn was already in front of them. Boom! There was an explosion in the sky. The Sky Thunder Python's body collapsed. It had taken 3 attacks from Luo Haishan. Zichen continued to raise the brush. Another Sky Thunder Python appeared. Right now, they just needed to slowly waste time. Behind them, Yi Yuan's face was filled with anxiety. Luo Long also sensed Zichen's intention. He immediately shouted, "Father, he's trying to buy time." As the city lord of a city, Luo Haishan was very knowledgeable and astute. How could he not see Zichen's plan? But right now, he could not speak of his suffering. Although he had dodged Zichen's attack earlier, his injuries were not light. The current battle only temporarily suppressed his injuries. However, just as Zichen had predicted, as long as he waited for the other party to recover, his life would be in danger. Luo Haishan sighed helplessly. He didn't expect that such a good situation would be ruined because of his carelessness. Now, not only did he lose his advantage, even his life was in danger. He suddenly stopped, and the complicated expression on his face was completely withdrawn at this moment. His expression became calm. Zichen felt this change and looked at Luo Haishan. The two of them looked at each other. Luo Haishan's eyes were very calm. His eyes were as calm as an ancient well, but it didn't seem like he was looking at a living person at all. The Sky Thunder Python and Yohu charged at him. In an instant, Luo Haishan was drowned in boundless energy. Zichen retreated again. He didn't feel the slightest bit of relief. Instead, he felt a strong sense of unease. In the next moment, there was a rumble in front of them. The Sky Thunder Python and Ghost Tiger were instantly defeated. A powerful aura surged in front of them like a terrifying tornado. Luo Haishan walked out of the storm. His hair fluttered in the wind, and the aura around him became abnormally violent. It was unknown if he had used some kind of secret technique, but his strength was almost illogical. Even his injuries were healed. He's not stupid. He knows that it's time to fight for his life. On the mountain peak, Lan Kangmang said indifferently. The old man walked beside him and said regretfully, "If this little guy can't bring about a miracle, it seems that the battle will be over. What a pity. If we could bring him back, I believe that we would find something amazing on him." Lan Kangmang didn't answer because it was simply impossible. Zichen saw that Luo Haishan's condition wasn't right. He didn't dare to be careless. He once again drew the Sky Thunder Python and Yohu. The strength that he had previously recovered was almost exhausted. Luo Haishan moved forward like a shooting star. He first passed through the Sky Thunder Python. After a loud rumble, the Sky Thunder Python exploded. Then, it was the Yohu. The two holy talisman arts, which had been able to withstand a few attacks, were instantly destroyed. The difference was too great. Luo Long looked at his powerful father and snorted at Zichen. "While there's still time, hurry up and prepare your last words." Luo Haishan was too powerful. He was simply unmatched. Zichen took a deep breath and then closed his eyes. Luo Long sneered. "What, you've accepted your fate? You don't even have any last words?" Zichen exhaled and opened his eyes again. His gaze also calmed down, because he had already made a decision in his heart. The Yohu disappeared. Luo Haishan continued to move forward. His speed was still very fast, but the light on the surface of his body didn't seem as dazzling as before. Obviously, the injury still had an effect on him. Zichen no longer retreated. Instead, he quietly looked at his opponent who was rushing forward. Luo Haishan had already arrived. Luo Long began to laugh proudly. Zichen's pupils shrank slightly, and a touch of madness appeared in his eyes. A bright brilliance appeared in front of him, illuminating the surroundings. The light was so dazzling that it was like a sun releasing colorful light. A stone appeared in Zichen's hand. It was the miracle stone. For a moment, various colors of light constantly shone. It was magnificent. Luo Haishan was slightly stunned. He was a little caught off guard by the bright light. Luo Long's laughter also froze. He looked at the thing in Zichen's hand, and shock appeared on his face again. That's the miracle stone? Lan Kangmang cried out involuntarily. Zichen had given him too many surprises today. Such a big piece of miracle stone, and it's so extraordinary. I'm starting to suspect that he's the future successor of the Lan family. The old man on the side sighed. There was a touch of hatred in Yi Yuan's eyes, but he was more surprised. He never thought that Zichen would take out the miracle stone at this time. Could it be that he wanted to use it to exchange for his life? At this time, Zichen took out the miracle stone. Of course, it wasn't to exchange his life. In this world, there weren't many people who were as easy to talk to as him. He took out the miracle stone for only one purpose. It was to kill the enemy. Soul extermination. Looking at Luo Haishan, who was close at hand, Zichen's cold voice sounded. He activated all the soul power in his body. This soul power surged into the miracle stone. The miracle stone, which was originally shining brightly, had all the other luster on it now, leaving only the lightning. The lightning was dazzling, and a powerful aura surged out from it. It was as if a world-destroying thunder dragon flew out from it and entered Luo Haishan's body. After this attack, Zichen fell to the ground. The miracle stone had disappeared from his hand. He kept it. He was powerless to activate it again. Luo Haishan stood in front of Zichen, motionless. The terrifying aura that surged around him was quickly extinguished. Zichen, who fell to the ground, had no strength at all. He couldn't even activate the recovery technique. He wasn't depressed or disappointed. Instead, he smiled. He smiled happily. Chapter 3800. All of Luo Haishan's plans fell through in the end. The 4 human soul realm experts did not all attack at once, causing them to die one after another. The last time, it was Luo Haishan's turn. 4 human soul realm experts had been killed by Zichen one after another. Sensing Luo Haishan's lifeless body, everyone was stunned and found it hard to believe. A powerful existence at the level of a city lord died just like that. How was this possible? The surviving soul corporeal realm experts were even more alarmed. They had the urge to flee. No, this is impossible. Luo Long stood there in a daze, as if he had lost his soul. This blow was too great for him. Zichen tried to stand up, but failed. He simply sat on the ground. All right, it's time to reel in the net. Lan Rui and the rest nodded. Zichen had already killed 4 human soul realm experts, so it was naturally up to them to clean up the mess. Reel in the net? Shouldn't I be the one to say that? A mocking voice suddenly sounded from afar. Hearing this unfamiliar voice, Zichen's expression could not help but change. Could it be that there were more enemies? Black clouds suddenly appeared in the sky, and a few crows' cries suddenly sounded. It was somewhat ear-piercing. The black clouds moved quickly, bringing with them a thick evil aura. The sky darkened, as if night had fallen. Such an unforeseen event caused everyone's expression to change as they looked up at the sky. The black clouds arrived above everyone's heads and quickly gathered together to form a person. This person was wearing a black robe, and an evil fog rolled around his body, causing others to be unable to see his original appearance. Zichen's face turned even paler. This was because the person who had come was a human soul realm expert, the 5th human soul realm expert. They only had 6 people in total, but they did not expect the enemy to send 5 human soul realm experts. How were they to fight? This was an unsolvable situation. On the mountain peak, Lan Kangmang finally heaved a sigh of relief. This was the backup plan he had been preparing. They finally arrived. The old man beside him was somewhat regretful. So what if that young man had created a miracle? His opponent was too shrewd. After the human soul realm expert appeared, the sound of air being torn apart rang out from behind. One after another, existences appeared. Many of them were at the soul realm. After they appeared, they immediately bowed to the human soul with black fog rolling around him. Greetings, Lord Ghost King. Zichen, who already had a bad feeling about this, felt his heart turn to ash. The person who had come was the Ghost King, the human soul who had always wanted to obtain Shan Ya. The Ghost King nodded slightly. His eyes quickly swept across the field and finally stopped on Shan Ya. He nodded with satisfaction and said, not bad at all. It's you. In the end, only you will survive. Shan Ya subconsciously stepped back. She was frightened. The Ghost King looked at Zi Chen and said, there's always a sequence to death. Let's start with you. After saying this, the black mist surged, and he slaughtered his way over. He glanced over the battle. He knew very well what had happened. In order to not follow in the footsteps of those people, he would not show any mercy. Zi Chen's body glowed faintly. It was a futile struggle. However, the Ghost King still did not let down his guard. The black fog around him began to expand like a strong storm. Before the attack even neared, the light around Zi Chen's body was the first to disperse. At this moment, Zi Chen's eyes were filled with unwillingness. The others wanted to step forward, but they were all stopped by the Ghost King's people. As the Ghost King approached, a powerful attack fell. Seeing that Zi Chen was about to die, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Block. A ray of light appeared in front of Zi Chen, forming a huge light shield that blocked the Ghost King outside. The black fog rolled, but it could not advance any further. Such a sudden change caused everyone to be stunned. Behind the light shield, which was also in front of Zi Chen, a person appeared. It was a burly man, holding a light shield in his hand. He was the one who blocked the Ghost King's attack. When Lan Rui and the others saw the burly man, their expressions changed. They knew him and had even drunk together once. Lan Hongyi, Shan Ya, and Lan Jiu Meng also knew him. He was the person from the noodle shop. However, they did not expect him to be in the human soul realm. Moreover, he appeared at such a critical moment. To be able to hold on until now, you're really amazing, the burly man praised, and then his eyes turned cold. Let me deal with such a shameless guy. Stab. He said another word, and a long spear appeared in his hand. The long spear moved forward with a sharp whistle. The long spear made contact with the black fog, and the black fog seemed to have met its nemesis as it constantly scattered. Swoosh. In the black fog, the Ghost King quickly retreated. Go. The long spear and light shield disappeared in the burly man's hand. He quickly moved forward, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of the Ghost King. Shake. With another word, he struck the Ghost King with his palm. It was as if Zi Chen had used the soul-shaking technique, and ripples spread out. The Ghost King's figure retreated again. The fog around him turned into a ghost head weapon. He held the weapon with both hands and immediately slashed down. Block. Two long spears appeared in Ou Li's hands. He crossed them and blocked the Ghost King's attack. A strange power attached itself to the long spear. Ou Li then said tremble, and the Ghost King was directly sent flying. Zi Chen looked in front of him in shock. The technique Ou Li was using now was the same as the physical combat arts he had used back in the martial heaven continent. The two of them had different approaches to the same result. The only difference was that Ou Li could use weapons to fight. Moreover, those weapons were not real soul weapons, but the manifestation of soul power. He pressed on, constantly chasing after the Ghost King. This did not mean that the Ghost King was no match for Ou Li, but Ou Li's attack method was too strange. As long as the Ghost King was stuck, it would be impossible for him to throw off Ou Li. Other than weapons, every part of Ou Li's body could become his strongest attack. Fingers, elbows, legs, and so on. Under this constant attack, the Ghost King could only block and retreat. On the other side, the experts the Ghost King had brought were looking at each other, not knowing whether or not they should continue attacking. At this time, of the people Luo Haishan had brought, the only one left alive was Luo Long. On the mountain peak, Lan Kangmang was furious as he watched the Ghost King continuously retreat. He snorted and called him a piece of trash. Then he turned and said to the old man, "Senior, please take action." The old man said, "Are you sure? There are still quite a few people there. Furthermore, there are some of your people." Lan Kangmang nodded. "They're all trash. It's good that they're dead." Everything is over. The old man smiled. That's fine. We're even. After saying that, he struck out with his palm. A palm print suddenly appeared in the sky where Zichen was standing. The palm print blotted out the sky and covered the sun like a falling canopy. An aura of death surged down. This was an Earth Soul attack. It could kill everyone present. Chapter 3801. In order to succeed today, Lan Kangmang had made a lot of preparations. For example, he had sent a message for the Ghost King to come personally. The Ghost King was naturally very happy to have a good relationship with the big shots of the Lan family, so he arranged everything and came. However, the appearance of the Ghost King could only be considered a backup plan, not a final resort. The old man was the one. He had wasted a favor from his ancestor in exchange, but the old man had already said that he would only make a move once. For an Earth Soul, even if it was just one move, it was still enough to end the battle and destroy everyone. When they saw the palm print, everyone, including the Ghost King, felt the threat of death. Damn it! The Ghost King cursed angrily. He was very clear about the intention of this palm print. Obviously, the person who set this trap did not intend to let him go. He directly gave up the battle and wanted to run away. But under the attack of an Earth Soul, who could run away? Ou Li stopped and looked up at the sky. Feeling the terrifying aura contained in the palm print, he sighed. It's only a difference of one level, but the difference in strength is comparable to that of heaven and earth. Despair began to spread in all directions. The existences brought by the Ghost King all felt despair and cried for help. Unfortunately, the Ghost King was already too busy to take care of himself. Lan Jiumeng and the others were also helpless. They could only watch as the palm print that could destroy everything fell. Facing another life and death crisis, Zichen felt fear in his heart, but also some anticipation. Perhaps, it was really as he thought. The palm print fell and dispersed with a loud bang. Everyone closed their eyes. They were waiting for death. Waves of air rolled, and dust and fine sand flew into the air, hitting their faces with a painful feeling. Everyone who was waiting for death, but no one really died. Neither side. Another old man appeared in the field. He stood there with a smile on his face. I came to thank you for drinking your toast last time. He was the old man of the noodle house. He was both the shopkeeper and the chef. He could also be a waiter. The old man stood there as if he was the ruler of a part of the world. He was not tall, but he gave off a majestic feeling. Zichen was very excited, and so were Lan Jiumeng and the others. At that time, everyone drank a lot of wine. After inviting the old man to join them, they all toasted him. At that time, everyone thought that the old man was just an old shopkeeper who had been in business for many years and had inherited his skills from his ancestors. Who would have thought that the old man would save their lives at the critical moment? The old man chuckled at everyone and ignored the shocked expressions of the others. Instead, he turned his head to look in a certain direction and said, "A dignified Earth Soul stage expert is acting so rashly. Isn't that a little inappropriate? It's just a favor." An equally old voice rang out, and then there was nothing else. At the top of the mountain, Lan Kangmang realized that the old man had disappeared. This made him want to curse out loud because he wanted to make another deal with the old man. For example, if that guy called Zichen was given to him, he would have to go all out to kill the others. Who would have thought that the other party would leave without even saying goodbye? On the battlefield, the Ghost King, who had regained his senses, turned around and left. At this moment, he was still in a state of shock and fear. In his heart, he was cursing 18 generations of Lan Kangmang's ancestors. Following his departure, the people he brought with him also retreated. Zichen glanced at Ou Li and realized that the other party had no intention of chasing after them. Therefore, he didn't say anything. After all, the other party was only here to help. They had no obligation to help him deal with the enemy. Luo Long was still standing there in a daze. What happened today was too big of a blow to him. Originally, he had set up a trap to scheme against the direct descendants of the Lan family. Who would have thought that in the end, it was his side that suffered heavy losses and was almost completely wiped out? No, there's still one person who isn't dead. Luo Long reacted and looked at Zhu Feiming. His father was already dead, and so were his two sworn brothers. Zhu Feiming, who was sitting cross-legged, was the only thing he could rely on. Just as he looked at Zhu Feiming with a hopeful gaze, he saw a soul light flying out of Zhu Feiming's mind and heading straight for Zichen. Was it an attack? He thought in his heart and was looking forward to it. That soul light entered Zichen's sea of consciousness. In the next moment, Zichen's aura started to increase. He, who had already exhausted too much energy, had already recovered a portion of his strength at this time. He stood up and walked towards Luo Long. At the same time, a long staff appeared in his hand. "What are you doing?" Seeing Zichen walking over, a hint of fear appeared in Luo Long's eyes. Zichen said coldly, "What do you think?" Ou Li glanced at Luo Long and a hint of disgust flashed across his eyes. This guy's reputation in Luowei City was really too bad. The manager of the noodle house also stood there and didn't stop Zichen. "You want to kill me? Just based on your current state?" Luo Long saw Zichen continuously approaching him. His face was obviously filled with fear, but his mouth was still very stiff. Zichen sneered and immediately sped up. The long staff in his hand smashed down. With a huge bang, Luo Long's defense on the surface was shattered and his body flew backward. After landing, he coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. His injuries were not light. Zichen continued to move forward and said indifferently, "Not bad, let's see how many more of my staff you can block." "Don't come over, don't come over," Luo Long shouted in horror, "I am someone chosen by the Holy Mountain. If you kill me, the Holy Mountain will not let you go." "The Holy Mountain? Never heard of it." Zichen naturally wouldn't stop. Instead, he mocked, "If the Holy Mountain wants a scum like you, then it's probably not a good thing." "That's not true." At this moment, a ray of light fell from the sky and turned into a middle-aged man. After seeing the middle-aged man, Luo Long's frightened eyes were filled with excitement. "Senior brother Wang, save me." Zichen stopped and looked at the middle-aged man. "You want to save him?" "I want to bring him back to the Holy Mountain. I hope little brother can make it convenient." The middle-aged man said. "What if I don't agree?" Zichen said indifferently. "Little brother must be joking. How powerful is the Holy Mountain? I believe that little brother will still give us face." The middle-aged man said with a smile, "Moreover, everyone will give face." Zichen nodded and said, "Since your words are so sincere, then of course I will give face to the Holy Mountain." The middle-aged man's face was smug, and there was even a hint of ridicule in his eyes. Such things had happened too many times. The Holy Mountain's reputation was not small. Luo Long snorted, and there was resentment in his eyes again. He was thinking about how to take revenge in the future. But then, Zichen's voice sounded again, "Then you can take a corpse back." As soon as his voice fell, he immediately rushed forward and raised the long staff in his hand again. "You're courting death." The middle-aged man shouted angrily and was about to attack. "Shake." Ou Li appeared in front of the middle-aged man, and his soul power surged out, sending the other party flying. Zichen's staff fell, and this time, he didn't hold back. Soul destruction technique. Powerful soul power crazily poured into Luo Long's body. Luo Long let out a terrified scream, and the resentment in his eyes froze. No more accidents happened. Luo Long's soul was destroyed and he died. Chapter 3802. The serpent was Luo Long's greatest trump card. After fusing with it, his battle prowess would become even stronger. However, Luo Long's state would also change because of this. It was under this state that he had harmed many women. With Luo Long's death, the serpent began to flee after sensing the threat of death. Its target was the middle-aged man from the sacred mountain. It seemed that he was quite intelligent and knew how to survive. The middle-aged man who was forced to retreat was furious after seeing Luo Long die, but when he saw the serpent arrive, the anger on his face dissipated a little. This was actually a good result. However, at this moment, a black shadow suddenly appeared. Unexpectedly, it directly swallowed the serpent. It was Yu Gui, who had not participated in the battle, who took the opportunity to make a move. "You're courting death." The middle-aged man's face was full of anger. No one had ever disrespected the sacred mountain like this. Luolong was a disaster, and the sacred mountain even accepted such a person. He's obviously not a good person, so why should I give you face? Zichen looked at the middle-aged man and said coldly, let him go and continue to harm innocent people. Ou Li looked at the middle-aged man mockingly, even with a hint of provocation on his face. The shopkeeper stood there, quietly watching this scene. The middle-aged man's expression changed several times. During this time, he glanced at Yu Gui, then stared at Zichen and said, let's wait and see. Let's see how long you can live after provoking the sacred mountain. According to Zichen's personality, he would definitely eliminate the source of trouble now to avoid endless future troubles, but he had used up a lot of energy, so it was impossible for him to keep the other party here. Ou Li was only watching the show and had no intention of making a move. The trouble was still there, but for everyone, being able to survive in the face of such a deadly situation was already something worth rejoicing over. Because of the return of Gui Ling's soul power, Zichen recovered a little. He immediately bowed to the two of them and thanked them. This was definitely a pleasant surprise. No need to be so polite, your trouble is not small. The sacred mountain's forces are not to be underestimated. Ou Li said with a smile. Zichen did not care about this. Compared to trouble, isn't it better to be alive? Ou Li nodded. You're quite open-minded. Zichen looked at the old man and said, can I trouble you with something? The old man waved his hand and said, what senior? Just call me Old Tang. It sounds close but not distant. If you have something to say, just say it. Zichen said, can I trouble Qian? Old Tang, can you take a look at those two soul weapons and see if there's anything wrong with them? The quality of the spirit weapon sent by the Lan clan was top-notch, but Zichen clearly did not trust those people and was worried that they would tamper with it. Moreover, the layout of this encirclement was too grand. Not only had the Ghost King personally come, but even more powerful experts had also made their move. With such a grand occasion, it was obviously impossible to say that they were targeting Zichen, because he didn't have that much influence. Lan Jiu Meng was a possibility, but Zichen guessed that it was most likely targeting Lan Rui. Because he was the future successor of the Lan family, his status was very important. Old Tang nodded his head and continued to smile. With a wave of his hand, the two soul weapons landed in his hand. After a simple scan, Old Tang said, there are some small problems, but it's not important. He waved his hand lightly, and a ray of light fell on the two soul weapons. In the next moment, the two soul weapons exploded with a strange light. Then, two screams sounded from the two soul weapons, and the soul weapons returned to normal. Old Tang turned his head, and nodded slightly in a certain direction, but there was no one there. You've taken your revenge, what do you plan to do next? Lan Hongyi walked in front of Yi Yuan, and asked with concern, do you have anywhere else to go? Yi Yuan slowly shook his head, and his face was filled with sorrow. Lan Hongyi couldn't bear it, and turned her head to look at Zichen, wanting to ask for help. Zichen walked over, but he held a weapon in his hand, and it was obvious that he wasn't here to deal with this matter. I thought you had already left. Zichen looked at Yi Yuan, and said coldly, Zichen, what do you want? Sensing the killing intent in Zichen's eyes, Lan Hongyi immediately spread out her arms and stood in front of Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan sighed, and said in despair, I have no home to return to, where else can I go? Zichen smiled, and said, that's good, I'll send you to reunite with your family. He clenched the long staff in his hand, and a light flowed on it. Old Tang was still chuckling, while Ou Li was watching this scene with interest. Shan Ya and Noah's expressions didn't change at all, as if they wouldn't be surprised no matter what Zichen did. Lan Rui frowned slightly, and a thoughtful look appeared on his face. Zichen, what nonsense are you talking about? He already has no family, and you still want to kill him? Lan Hongyi said angrily. Zichen walked in front of Lan Hongyi, and stretched out his hand to put down Lan Hongyi's spread arms. He smiled at Lan Hongyi, and then looked at Yi Yuan, and said, actually, I wanted to help you. When we stood in front of those incomplete corpses for the first time, I decided to help you. At that time, you should have been hiding in the dark, right? Yi Yuan's expression changed, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about. The others' faces were full of suspicion. Chen continued, so, I didn't take your clumsy performance to heart, and simply played the good guy until the end. Yi Yuan said with an innocent face, I don't understand what you're saying at all. Chen smiled coldly, and said, don't worry, you'll understand. When we were fighting, you ran off by yourself. Actually, you didn't leave. Instead, you entered the treasury, and you took out the miracle stone. However, at that time, there was a seal on the miracle stone, so it didn't seem very eye-catching. You came out with the miracle stone, but you suddenly heard that soul corporeal realm expert's words, and learned that there were others behind him. As a result, you put the miracle stone back, and you even removed the seal, making it seem particularly eye-catching. Afterwards, you left as quickly as you could, and knelt before us to ask for help. As soon as Chen's voice fell, everyone's expression changed. Obviously, they did not expect so many things to happen in the midst of it all. Lan Rui thought of something else. When Yi Yuan led them to the secret vault of Mount Garuda, Chen seemed to be very familiar with the place. He walked at the front and saw the miracle stone at first glance when he entered the vault. He didn't recognize it at all. Moreover, Chen had been hostile to Yi Yuan at that time, and it had continued until now. They all looked at Yi Yuan. It was very difficult to imagine that a child who was only a few years old would do something like that. They did not doubt Chen's words at all. Yi Yuan's face turned pale. A smear of cold killing intent appeared in Chen's eyes. If you had left earlier, I would have acted like nothing had happened, even if you had passed the news to Luo Long, telling him that we destroyed Kiara Mountain, and that we wanted to kill him.